you're facing. Oh no, you hear the voices coming round, and your heart starts racing so loud. When the cold wind blows, when they see your eyes, think they got our number, but we ain't gonna lay down here and die. I said, hey, oh, hey, there's no surrender when you're standing on the line. I said, hey, oh, hey, there's no surrender. Let 'em hear our battle cry. I said, hey, oh, hey, there's no surrender when you're standing on the line. I said, hey, oh, hey, there's no surrender. Let 'em hear our battle cry.
Tonight, from America's premier short track, we say good evening, race fans, and welcome to Saturday Night Thunder from the virtual Richmond Raceway. Thanks for spending your Saturday night with us on the iRacing Sports Network as we kick off the virtual NASCAR race weekend with a fun event full of up-and-coming NASCAR superstars. Alongside with Justin Prince and Tim Terry, my name is Evan Soko. Happy to be back in the saddle, Tim, once more on a short track Saturday night after the off week last week. We're ready to get back under things, and of course, we have a real good treat in store tonight.
We kicked off this series a couple of weeks ago at the Bristol Motor Speedway, saw some heat races, saw some consies, and saw some really exciting racing at the end of it. We were here Tuesday night for the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series at Richmond, and now we get to turn on the lights and go racing with the Saturday Night Thunder with all these NASCAR stars. I think we're going to see a lot of what we saw on Tuesday night, Evan. We're going to see some car wrestling. These guys are going to have to push their way to the front of the field with heat races. It just amplifies that, especially here in just about a few minutes' time when we go green flag racing.
And we're also going to see Cup cars take to this very same virtual pavement tomorrow afternoon for round 4 of the eNASCAR Pro Invitational iRacing Series. And just like a normal race weekend, therefore, Saturday belongs to the Xfinity Series cars. Justin, last time out, it was a totally different ball game. The ARCA Menard Series styled cars at Bristol, where we saw Logan Seavey hold off Ty Majeski for the win. But tonight will be a totally different animal, not just in the change of location, but in the change of race car, moving to these bigger Xfinity Series cars. It could give an advantage to the drivers who drive these things in the real world.
Absolutely. It's a whole different beast in terms of how these machines drive tonight that these competitors will be using. There's the chance, though, of great racing with these machines. We've seen side-by-side battling before at Richmond, up to 25 laps in both the virtual and real-world events. This is a car that does take its time to adjust, though, because it's completely different in how you enter the corner and how you exit the corner with this machine.
It's going to be a fun night of action, Tim. Let's talk about the format for this Saturday Night Thunder 125. And it'll be a while until we get to that 125-lap feature race with over 40 drivers spanning the Xfinity, the Gander RV and Outdoors Truck Series, ARCA Menards, and even north of the border with Alex LeBay for the Pinty Series. We're going to have to whittle them down to a 26-car main event, and we're going to do that starting with heat racing. Drivers will qualify single car 2 laps. That will set the grids for the heat races. We'll do 4 10-lap heats. Only the top 6 drivers from those get to punch their tickets on through.
Yeah, and then we'll run a last chance qualifier round where 2 drivers will make their way into the main event, which will be 26 cars. Talked about qualifying. You can get up there and do a hot lap, but it's not going to get you directly locked into the show. It's going to give you a good spot in the heat race, but you have to race your way in. You're going to have to get up on the wheel for those 10-lap heats, the 15-lap LCQ, in order to get yourself into the 125-lap big dance. And you mentioned it, Evan. There's some names in here that we saw a couple of weeks ago. There's some new names that we haven't seen on the Saturday Night Thunder show. I look at the second-place driver in practice, Josh Berry. He's a NASCAR Xfinity Series driver in the part-time. He does some cars, solid rock carriers, late model stock, tour racing action as well. Won the Martinsville 300 last year. There's one that's you're gonna have to watch tonight.
Yeah, so many of these drivers race not just in one series, of course, especially for the part-time guys, over the course of multiple different racing divisions. And I think my favorite part of this series is seeing all of those different drivers gel together, adjusted. But we are here just outside of Richmond, Virginia for the virtual Richmond Raceway, same track that played host to this past Tuesday's eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series race. Of course, a different tall order in that series, of course, with the top sim racers in the world driving the NASCAR Cup Series cars tonight. It is the real-world drivers taking 2 in the Xfinity Series machines. But you touched on it a little bit there right off at the top, how fun a racetrack this is. And yes, the sun, it looks like it's shining down, but I promise it's about to dip behind the grandstands, and we're going to get this race underway under the lights, Saturday Night Thunder, nighttime style. But just tell us a little bit about Richmond, which a lot of drivers are worrying could be a bit of a fist fight tonight.
Absolutely. This action track is a fun one as talked about, but it's such a technical short track as talked about because you have to be prepared for how you enter the corner, how strong you enter the corners, how much you throttle control your race car and apex off. Also, this is a car that's set up on the tight side tonight, meaning if you go too hard off the gas off the corners, there's a chance you'll either slam the outside safer barrier or burn up your right front tire. So tire management going to be very crucial compared to the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series event in the daytime, where it was the right rear drivers were focused upon.
And we are now getting a live look at the final minutes of open practice. You saw some drivers still trying to take to the racetrack about a minute away from starting that single car qualifying. And as we move into that, let's talk about our keys to the race, because that is my point. When you go heat racing like this, the importance is of the utmost when you need to qualify. Yes, it is not a long race, so you do have to push hard, but also this thing could get out of control really quickly with no yellows in these heat races, Tim. So I think that qualified up front, especially right now, getting the track position early for your heat race is going to dictate how your entire night goes.
Lap traffic, don't get trapped. When you look at this race, it's 10 laps in heats and 15 laps for the consi. You look at that, you might not think, okay, they're not going to hit lap traffic. If somebody wrecks behind, there are no caution flags in those 2 races. So you really have to be cognizant of where that car that just spun pulls back on the racetrack, and especially in the feature when it comes to that 125 lapper, you need to navigate your way around and try to make sure you clear that lap traffic. And Justin, it goes into your point, you gotta have a clean car in order to do it.
Absolutely. The last driver standing specifically. What that means is if you're able to maintain track position, keep your car clean, stay out of trouble, you're likely going to be the man standing in victory lane by the end of the night. But if you get into trouble, whether it's during the heats, the LCQ, or the feature race tonight, it puts you in the mix of traffic and into dirty air. In other words, you keep your car clean, you stay nice, calm, and composed, and maintain track position, you will be that man standing in victory lane tonight.
The Singer Car Qualified is currently taking place, and we're happy that you're joining us again tonight on the iRacing Sports Network. You can see the live qualifying order on the left-hand side of your screen. We also encourage you to use the hashtag Saturday Night Thunder and join us and be a part of the conversation as we go racing tonight at the virtual Richmond Raceway. Landon Castle goes to the top of the board. Of course, these drivers going to be putting in 2 laps for their Q efforts, but a lot of them going the fastest on that first time around and not even bothering Tim to put a second lap in. But we saw the likes of Ty Majeski very, very fast in practice. Some of those top names still yet to put times down. So we'll see if Castle can hang strong in the 89 car.
You see the 55 on your screen of Will Rogers' first lap by was 14th quick. Going to hop up there a little bit closer towards the top of the board on lap number 2. So these drivers just getting their laps in, and we mentioned it off the top of the show. Qualify up front, get a good heat race starting position, and try to make your way into the feature and not really have to work as hard as some of those boys in the back.
And you can see Castle still holding strong. Ty Majeski on his second lap now after not getting one to count for the first time through. The best into practice goes to 4th on the board. There he is at 45. Now watching Cindric, second trip around. Can he jump up top? Look at Alex LeBay, the qualifier winner from Texas. He'll go to second. The clock will now count down to 0. And I think that'll just about do it for single car qualifying from Richmond. There is no, golden ticket into the main event right through qualifying. All these drivers now going to be split up into 4 different, actually it's going to be 3 different heat races it'll show. Let's go trackside and take a look at your starting grid. Landon Castle going to bring us to the green flag to start heat race number 1. But we talked about the possible advantage of Xfinity Series drivers. They occupy the next 5. Alfredo on the front row, Gralla and Briscoe row 2, and Tim Justin Allgaier and Austin Cindric through P6.
You look at that second sheet, Logan Seavey, Jesse Iwuji. Logan Seavey was quick to get to that checkered flag in the winner's circle at Bristol. He'll roll off from the inside of row number 4. Will Rogers, Christian Eckes, Todd Gilliland, and Brennan Poole in row number 6.
Joey Gay's going to have to deal with traffic early in 13th position in qualifying. JJ Yaley, Michael Annette round out the drivers in heat race number 1.
And we talk specifics about this D-shaped oval that has been on track since 1988. 3/4 of a mile in length, 14 degrees of banking into quarters with 8 degrees on that D-shaped front stretch and 2 degrees on the back. But it is that high, wide entry diving down to the bottom into turn number 1, Justin. I think that is going to be tempting for drivers who want to make some of those more, shall we say, spirited moves in these very short heats.
Absolutely, it is the preferred line around this entire racetrack, mind you, and we've seen that for the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. If you left even a half a lane open heading towards that yellow line in turn 1 and 2, there's likely going to be a car trying to fill that space. And with so few laps to get the job done, to get yourself into the feature race automatically, expect a lot of drivers to try and take advantage of an open mistake right from the get-go.
The 21.972 by Landon Castle was the best of them all. We'll split it up then every 3rd driver down the queue order to set the grid for this 15-car heat race. Only the top 6 drivers going to move on. Tim, lights on the pace truck going to be out this time by. Any last words?
I think you got to take care of your stuff here. You got some drivers that are sitting out of transfer positions. The first one I look at, back in position number 7 at Logan Seavey. We'll have to get up on the wheels. Got some fast drivers ahead of him in order to get there. This is a stout field, Evan. I don't really know who you bump out of that top 6 or who you bring in to try to make this field. It's going to be a tough heat race.
And certainly we're excited to kick off the virtual race weekend with all of you at home. And we're happy that you're joining us here for Saturday Night Thunder from the virtual Richmond Raceway. The iRacing.com official pace truck going to dive down to the safety of the pit lane, and it'll be that blue Emu Chevy Camaro up front of Landon Castle in control. Pace car down and in as we say, let's go racing from Richmond. Heat race number 1 is underway.
Beautifully clean start already. Everybody trying to rush their way to that bottom side. As we talked about, Evan, it's going to be crazy. About 4 fought back already. Chase Briscoe on the defense.
Yeah, that's the spot we really need to watch is the 7 of Allgaier on the inside of the 22 now of Austin Cindric. He'll make that pass. The Junior Motorsports Chevy, but he lost it a little bit that time at a 4, got loose. And here comes Seavey, Saturday Night Thunder winner from 2 weeks ago. Side by side with Cindric. This is for P6 as Allgaier's in the fence.
Going to lose that momentum. Going to open that door for the 67, but Allgaier slams the door down into corner number 3. Will Rogers takes a look to the inside of Cindric, trying to pick himself up one more position. Evan Christian Eck spun out a couple laps ago in the back of the field, so he's going to have to work his way quickly or he'll be in an LCQ as the 36. Up the racetrack a little bit, Jesse Awuji tries to pick up one more spot.
And now we'll see if CV is going to be happy with P6 or not, because of course the qualifying position for the feature race is going to be determined based on where they finish in these heats. So CV wants more, and Will Rogers has got a front row view of it all. CV down to the bottom at Allgaier. They're going to rough each other up a little bit. And not only now will CV go to 5th, but here comes Will Rogers on the inside of Allgaier. He'll slide in, take away 6th, and all of a sudden, the number 7 car outside of the top 6 spots.
And it looks like CV might have hit the outside safer barrier coming off the corner, so everybody's scraping the right side. If you're Allgaier, though, coming to halfway, it's the matter of just being a little bit patient. If you feel like you make the pass, do it. Seems like he's backing off, might not be as comfortable as Rogers and co. at this point.
And you can see it's not just with Allgaier here. You got Awuji, you got Cindric, who started in the number 6 position, but has dropped the back since then. It runs in 9th, and all these drivers try to make it up front where there has been no changes. Landon Castle started up front. He's still there. The full running order, top of your screen, as we see CV now in this battle with Rogers for P5 and 6. But Castle, Alfredo, Gralla, and Briscoe all started 1, 2, 3, 4. That is the exact order they run in at the front of the field.
You saw it in the corner of your screen. It was Austin Cindric giving a shot to Jesse Awuji to move up to position number 8. That's the sense of urgency right now, Evan. He has to go, and now Austin Cindric has a little bit of time to catch up to this battle that is right in front of him with CV Rogers and Allgaier. Allgaier on the outside looking in by 1, but he's got to get to step in lap number 8. Only a few laps left to go in this thing. You have to get up on the wheel if you're Justin Allgaier to make something happen, and if you're Austin Cindric, you better get to pedaling.
Those drivers started in good spots, P5 and 6, but they both dropped down 2, and they would have good qualifying position for the LCQ, but nobody wants to have to go to that last chance race, and 2 laps to go that time by in heat race number 1. The battle on for 3rd, though, as we see Chase Briscoe just now passing Kaz Gralla to take over 3rd spot. First pass at a top 4 we've seen tonight. He's up at the front of the field. Landon Castle going to look for the white flag presented by iRacing. Does Anthony Alfredo go for the bump and run? Does he want to move him out of the way? They're fighting for pole position in the 125 lap main event. He's got to run it at 2. He'll put a nose to the inside. It's Alfredo to the bottom of Castle for the heat race 1 win, but it is not gonna stick, and Landon Castle hangs on. Heat race 1 win. He's moving to the big show.
Nice clean finish up towards the front. Castle, it looked like, was actually giving Alfredo the space. It's just Alfredo just couldn't stick the bottom as well as he needed to. But those two, Briscoe, Gralla, CV, and Rogers, Evan, all go on. Everybody else to the LCQ.
And you can see it was an impressive maneuver by CV Rogers, the ARCA Menard Series drivers, to get up and in, and a whole host of top 3 NASCAR level talents through the bottom 15. We'll see them later on in that LCQ. Let's go trackside once more, though. Take a look at your starting grid for Heat Race 2. And it was a late hot lap by Alex LeBay, who won his way into the Pro Invitational by winning a qualifier a couple of weeks back. He'll start on pole for this one, joined by none other than Ty Majeski, Landon Huffman, Cole Custer, Jeff Burton, Drew Dollar, all through P6.
And you look at page number 2, Blake Cook, Harrison Burton, Michael McDowell, Matt Mills, Spencer Boyd, and Joe Graff Jr. going to roll from the outside of row number 6.
Scott Stenzel all the way back in 13th position. Chad Fincham rounds out the 14 drivers in heat race number 2. And Evan, this should be a fun one with the drivers in this field.
There is a lot of talent in this one, a mix of drivers from all over the NASCAR spectrum, including Cole Custer. I think the big name in this one, in that number 4 spot. Of course, I mentioned Alex LeBay, who got the win, and Ty Majeski has been very, very good as well, Tim, in his iRacing career, to say the least. We're going to be making booth picks a little bit later on in the evening before we get to the finale, and not to kind of show any cards, but the 45, definitely a driver that I'm considering. I think he's got a real good shot at this race. Alex LeBay, though, same story.
I think the 2 to watch in this heat race are going to be the 2 that are starting just outside transfer positions. Blake Cook and Harrison Burton starting in row number 4. Really fast race cars. These guys have a little bit of experience on here. They're getting used to these race cars. I think those 2 are going to be the ones to watch. Maybe not necessarily to win this heat race, but to lock themselves in to move forward into the 125 lapper. But you look up front, you got Alex LeBay and Ty Majeski. Those 2 are going to be tough to beat here. We've seen both of them run plenty of laps here on Saturday nights and on some Sunday afternoons too. So we'll see what transpires here as we get ready for heat race number 2, 10 laps in length.
And in that first heat race, we learned that most of the battles were going to be happening back in the pack around that P6 transfer spot. We'll see if that story rings true here in heat race number 2 as the pace car is off and in, and Alex LeBay puts the right foot down. We're through the gears and we're green for heat race 2. LeBay leading to 1. Majeski safely second at Landon Huffman and Cole Custer. The battle is for 5th behind. Jeb Burton trying to go on the inside at a turn 2.
Yeah, and multiple drivers got really tight going through 1 and 2. Clipped the apron, I think, a couple of them, including Jeff Burton. Seems like Burton is just struggling to stick the bottom line, and this is allowing drivers like Michael McDowell right into the conversation.
And look at the 57 car of Blake Cook. He's looking all the way to the inside, and that's over time stepping up not to go for the 3-1. That's that wide open inside. I teased earlier in the broadcast it down to 1. If you want to go for moves, you can. We're in gridlock side by side, full position on pack.
The $1,500 on that outside line is brought up over Michael McDowell, almost 3 wide. He's stuck on that outside line for a lap and just hasn't been able to get down. He's a short track driver. He knows how to go through heat races and try to transfer in. But now he's on the outside. It's a little lip check from Blake Cook and up the hill. Enter Harrison, almost 3 wide.
Yeah, that 57 car got loosened up. Oh, he's going to get turned. Blake Cook. And I don't know if those cars survived that one as we look up front. No chaos. It's LeBay at lap number 4. He's going to be the leader. Ty Majeski 2, Landon Huffman 3. But through the chaos, Cole Custer maintains 4th. Jeb Burton now P5. And how about Matt Mills? He takes over 6th.
Yeah, and that was absolutely crazy, and why keeping your car clean is important now. It puts everyone into a situation where there's going to be a lot more pressure for them now the rest of the way for the rest of the night. That, if you didn't have that happen, would have absolutely been the better way. Here's a look at the replay, though. Just one little bobble checked everybody up. Dollar tried to get underneath Cook, and bye-bye, 34 and 57.
Yeah, he was just kind of looking in the middle, made the move, and it really wasn't a smart option, and it took out a lot of fast race cars. As now a battle for the race lead is on. Ty Majeski got to the inside of Alex LeBay. They're going to go side by side down to turn 3. And the 45 cars got it. Donati looking to cross them up, can't do it. The new race leader with 7 laps down. It's Ty Majeski.
Landon Huffman is now in the picture. Huffman was able to roll into the corner, and now he is a part of this battle for the lead on the back bumper of Alex LeMay. Nose to tail for your top three, and not really any pressure for the transfer position. Matt Mills currently in that spot as you ride on board with Landon Huffman looking up at the top two. Trying to make something happen for this heat race victory, Evan, but we're running down to the end of this race, and he's locked into the feature.
And he's been steady so far. Started third, runs there right now. The longtime sim racer and representative tonight as a driver of the NASCAR Gander Outdoors at RV Truck Series. And, you know, he's probably just going to kind of cruise this one out in third. That incident really spread this field apart with the exception of your top three. Last time around, it's the final lap from Richmond. Majeski made the move with 3 laps to go. He is not going to look back. The big thing is it is clean racetrack in front of him. Final time now in 3 and 4. And Ty Majeski is going to go to the feature race. He wins heat race number 2.
And just how Majeski and LeMay wanted that to go. Nice and clean, don't fight too aggressively. But as that all went on, Matt Mills quietly took the final transfer spot. He'll be joined by Huffman, Custer, and Jeb Burden, along with Majeski and LeMay in the show.
And of course, it was a big incident that allowed Matt Mills to jump up the Xfinity Series driver to get the P6. He's the final transfer. So on to those drivers 7 through 10 to the bottom of the screen. And now over onto page number 2 through 14th, where you find Dollar. They're going to go LCQ Racing a little bit later on. So we've already sent 12 drivers into the main. Let's send another group of 6 and take a look at your heat race number 3 starting grid. And it is Josh Berry on the pole position for this one, joined by Chase Cabry. They've got some heavy hitters behind, though, including 2 Xfinity Series drivers, Stephen Light and Bailey Curry. Curry was real good all night long in the practice sessions with Derek Kraus and Josh Palicki through P6.
You got Ty Gibbs and Ryan Ellis in row number 4, Ryan Truex and Ruben Garcia in row number 5, Myatt Snyder and Noah Gregson rounds out row number 6.
Storm Friesen also moving into the top 13, qualifying for his grouping. Angelo Ruck rounds out the 14 drivers in heat race number 3. And this one is filled with many iRacing veterans in terms of drivers with real-world careers who race a lot on the sim, Evan.
Yeah, and it's highlighted by that front row. I mean, there's drivers all throughout the field here, Tim, that do a lot of iRacing. But Josh Berry, Chase Cabry, 2 of the biggest names in the sim racing world, not just the real-life side.
Yeah, Josh Berry in that number 88, as we mentioned, a regular on the Car Solid Rock Carriers late model stock tour. Chase Cabry has been doing a lot of short track racing himself and doing a lot of different disciplines of racing. He's been doing a lot of winning here on the iRacing service here the last little bit. But keep an eye on that All Things Automotive iRacing number 88 to the inside. I think Josh Berry has something to prove here tonight and trying to get back to victory lane. He is a former eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver himself.
And Chase Cabry close to victory lane the last time out from Bristol Motor Speedway for the first edition of Saturday Night Thunder. Of course, looking forward to these Saturday night events being a regular part of the eNASCAR weekend going forward. We'll see if those sim guys can kind of flex their muscles and use a combination of the sim and real-world experience here on the short track at Richmond and punch their ticket into the feature race. It is the final heat race, though. Josh Berry, Chase Cabry on the front row, getting set for 10 laps of action. It's a slow roll. We're underway. Berry's going to lead the turn to 1.
Stephen Light got caught sleeping, checked everyone up on the bottom side. Actually got a shot from Kraus. It looks like everyone else is just able to get clean. It looks like Stephen Light just going to move right out of the way as he's going to allow some drivers to go. Keep it conservative.
And you can see the 19 machine there, Ford able to get down and onto the bottom as the top 3 now try to separate themselves. So Derek Kraus can jump up to 4th. Ty Gibbs follows him through. He'll take over 5th and out of the battle for the transfer spot. And a little bit of a bump and a run there as Josh Palicki got up and into Stephen Light, moved him out of the way. They're side by side down the back.
Up the hill just a little bit, but not enough to take him out of the spot. And Stephen Light misses corner number 3, goes a little bit wide and allows Josh Palicki to take that position. And now Ryan Truex takes a move to the inside to try to pick up one more position. So it looks like they've got it figured out through about the top 5 or so, with Stephen Light battling side by side with Ryan Truex down the back.
And the 40 car still needs one more to go. If he can cash this one out, he gets in front as now we go on board. Ruben Garcia from behind. The driver for the ARCA Menard Series, of course, as well, representing with the NASCAR Peak Mexico Series, and he's trying to get around that 25 alighted front if he wants to join this battle for the transfer spot. But right now, can't get that bit extra off of the corner. He stays in line, and it is still Bilicki P6 who's got the target on his bumper.
And it just looks like Light is just struggling to stick Apex off, is just so carrying so much speed and getting so tight that he's just drifting up the racetrack into the corners, and that's losing on the bottom side by the time they get to turn 1 and 2. The more mistakes you make like that, the more likely you're going to drop it. Everybody else has gotten single filed out.
Ty Gibbs makes a move on Derek Kraus for position 4 and 5. So the number 18 Monster Energy Toyota moves up a spot as you pick up those drivers running inside of the top 5, kind of chasing down at best. Barry, there's the side-by-side, though, back in traffic, still not done. And Garcia, maybe this time, but a turn 2 has done it. So he'll move up into position number 8, Tim. But I wonder if he lost too much track position to really make this a worthwhile battle with 4 laps to go.
Still not done, but he's got to go. We saw it with Cindric in heat race number 1. Garcia now in that same position where he rides in position number 8. He needs to get to position number 6, but he's got about a second to catch those couple in front of him and also make a pass on 7th. Though, by the way, he's only got 3 laps to go this time by. As you see that battle once again, these drivers are locked in to the feature if they finish where they are. And Derek Kraus trying to get up to Ty Gibbs and make something happen. And right in front of them, Chase Cavery has company with Bailey Curry.
Yeah, I mentioned right off at the top, Justin Curry had one of the best times in practice. We saw speed out of really all these cars up front, Gibbs and Kraus included. But of course, even though it is just 10 laps, you do need some race pace to translate hot lap speed into heat race speed.
Absolutely, and that's why so many drivers in preparation for tonight put in so many practice laps. They had preparation throughout the week to prepare for this situation. Some put in as much as 300 plus laps before the drop of the green flag. And now that preparation is showing coming to this white flag. The funny thing is, Gibbs didn't have as much confidence on social media before this race, Evan. He's been one of the quickest drivers all day.
Yeah, said he would have needed some luck to get into the show, but pretty handily picked up 3 spots in this one to 4th. And he would have talked about handily. How about Josh Berry? 3rd time. The heat race starter up front going to finish there. He cruises to a 1-second win. Some side-by-side in the back as Barry, Cavery, Curry, along with Ty Gibbs, Derek Kraus, and Josh Bilicki, the magic number 6, Tim, who are moving on.
But Ryan Truex was underneath Josh Bilicki coming to the stripe, just couldn't get enough steam off of corner number 4 to make it happen. You see him just under a 10th behind Josh Bilicki on that result sheet. So Ryan Truex missed the show through the first round, but he's going to have to get up on the wheel here in the last chance qualifier in order to make it happen. As you see the final couple of finishers here, we get ready to grid our last chance qualifier. It looks like we might have 2 of them.
Yeah, we're going to have 2 LCQs up on deck, and because we dropped a heat race, it'll be the top 4 drivers in each of these LCQs. Moving on, let's go trackside, look at the starting grid. So it's based on finishing position in the heat. So Justin Allgaier, we just saw Ryan Truex on track. They'll make up the front row, along with Joe Graff Jr. and Jesse Iwuji, 3rd and 4th position. Stephen Light, Harrison Burton through row 3.
Brennan Poole in 7th spot to start off. Store Freeze in an 8th. Michael McDowell looking for some good luck in this last chance qualifier after contact in his heat in 9th. Joey Gase in 10th. Noah Gragson, Drew Dollar round out the 12 drivers in LCQ number 1.
Just look at the bottom at your starting grid, and it is just a small change in format. Tim, we really don't have any additional cars on the racetrack. 12 is about on par with the number that we were seeing earlier on, but we do extend a little bit. We'll go racing for 15 laps instead of 10. I'm sure that Ryan Truex would have appreciated that length in his heat race, I should say, because he would have had to end up in this LCQ.
But for those drivers at the back that had some bad luck in their heat race, guys like Drew Dollar and Noah Gregson, Michael McDowell, they have an opportunity now to redeem themselves. They have 5 extra laps to try to do it as well, but they also need a little bit of track position. They're going to need to get up on the wheel and get up on the wheel quick here, because not only do you have to come up from that position, you're going to pass some race cars, and here at Richmond, these laps click off really, really quickly. You're going to need to be up on the wheel and know your surroundings here for these next couple laps as we ride on board with Joe Graff Jr. getting ready to take the green flag from 3rd.
He's going to be on the inside of the front row in second position, and it is a big change, of course, with the drop of heat race number 4, just to better accommodate the number of cars in this race. Instead of having to win the LCQ, all you've got to do is finish inside of the top 4. That still means that 2/3 of these drivers are going to be sent home. Nobody wants to not make a feature race on Saturday Night Thunder. But, we started the evening. The sun was just dipped behind the grandstands. It is now full-on nighttime short track racing on the iRacing Esports Network. Ken Allgaier, who started in a good spot for his heat but dropped back, find that consistency. Brant Chevy, we see some drivers from outside of the top 4, like Light, Burton, Poole, and Friesen, who are just on the doorstep, able to break their way in. The pace car off and in. We're underway. 15 laps at LCQ number 1.
And our clean start this time, though. There's a bit of a shot. Joe Graff missed the corner.
And the 80 car is going to go way high. They're going to be 3 wide behind him now with Gregson. The 20 car of Burton didn't appreciate that, and he gave him a little bit of a shot down the back straightaway, and it didn't only hurt these other cars. Oh, now the 80 is going to go around. Joe Graff spins into turn 4. Noah Gregson also around. No yellows in these LCQs, and that's going to be a mistake that you're not coming back from.
That's a heartbreak for Noah Gregson. Was running 5th when he got wrecked, and he passed a bunch of cars in order to put himself in a position to battle for one of these transfer positions. You're going to see the replay right here as to what happened, and a tough break for some of these drivers that were either in transfer positions, Evan, or pretty darn close to it.
Yeah, we'll get the second look at it here. This was already after the big issue right there as he pushes up, but he had just recovered, just got loose on his own, and barely got that right rear of Noah Gregson. You see Friesen gets a piece of the damage as well. Nowhere for those drivers to go, and again, it doesn't just hurt Joe Graff, but those issues take the cars around him out. And I questioned on the grid, Justin, would drivers break in? How about Brennan Poole in the 15 car, running in 3rd position, started this in 7th. He's made his way into the top 4 pretty comfortably with a buffer car of Jesse Iwuji in P4 between the rest of the drivers trying to break into those transfer spots.
Yeah, he was around the middle of the pack in the 12-hour practice session these drivers had prior to warm-ups tonight. It looked fairly consistent. One of the drivers who was able to get a 5-10 lap run in throughout that preparation for tonight. So just got some luck with what happened around him. But again, if you can keep yourself clean, put yourself in the best position. And now it's the matter, though, of will we hold on, will Iwuji hold on, or will we close into the rest of these drivers?
And could this be shades of heat race number 3? Ryan Truex battling for a position down to the end this time. It is for the number 1 position. You're looking off of the back end of Justin Allgaier. Now let's ride on board with the 40 car of Truex in 2nd. Started there. Has not allowed Allgaier to get away. But it also, I guess, Allgaier hasn't made a mistake either. So these drivers getting chased down by Brennan Poole. You can see Poole in the rearview mirror there for Ryan Truex getting closer. Could the 15 be the dark horse and go all the way to the front? He'll look to the inside in turn 1. Truex, though, not going to give him the lane.
Close battle for 3rd, but keep an eye on the battle for the transfer position because Michael McDowell has reeled in Jesse Iwuji for position number 4, and we're going to have a battle on our hands before this thing is all said and done. If those top 3 falter at all, Michael McDowell would be in the catbird seat, but he wants to make it in the hard way and try to earn his way into this feature. Taking a look on the back bumper, that number 36, he's got to make it happen here, and he's got to make it happen soon because we're coming down to 6 laps to go this time by.
It's going to be a great battle as the Truck Series driver looks to hold off the Cup entry as McDowell forcing his way to the bottom. Maybe forced it a little bit, confused the 36 car to move up and out of the way. And here we go. The battle is on for 4th. 6 laps to go, and it is McDowell on the bottom. He makes the pass. There's the payback, though. Iwuji gives him a shot, but it was not enough to move to 34.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be a surprise, though, what we've seen pace-wise from McDowell throughout this event. He was one of the quickest drivers in warm-ups and one of the quickest drivers throughout the week. Top 5 driver in pace. Right now, his top 5 lap average is about on par, if not quicker, than Justin Allgaier. So McDowell's definitely got the pace to try and hold on to this position. Just has to make sure he doesn't make a mistake.
And McDowell's put down the fastest lap of anybody in this with a 22.214 on his march through the field from position 9. But unable to do it in time that would allow him, I think, to fight with those top 3. He's some 1.4 seconds off the number 1 position, but that doesn't matter because right now he is in, assuming that he keeps it clean, doesn't make a mistake, because any sort of an error, any sort of a bobble on behalf of that 34 Ford, the Love's Truck Stop entry, Tim, could open up the door for Awuji, who's just about 3 car lengths back.
Make sure you hit your marks and do not open the door for Jesse Awuji to make a move. This battle in front is for the lead position. It's trying to move up one more row in the starting grid, but these drivers are locked in. Brennan Poole trying to get up to the back bumper. They're locked in, though, as long as they stay in these positions. They're fighting pretty hard for a spot that's going to transfer with about 3 laps to go.
Yeah, Brendan Poole came storming through the field to get into this number 3 position. You're on board with the Truex in the middle, but we'll see if anything else is going to change as these cars stacked up only 0.2 of a second separated your top 3. White flag in the air, final time around in the first last chance qualifier. Truex on the bumper. There's a shot now. Poole's going to get into him as well as they played bumper cars at a 2. Final time now. Poole looking for second, can't do it, and from the front, Justin Allgaier wins the LCQ.
And that's exactly how you write it. What a way for Allgaier to come home with his LCQ and hold on to the drivers trying to rush behind. Good for Truex and Poole as well, but McDowell had to put in a lot of work to get himself into the top 4, charged his way from about 9th into the final transfer spot, Evan.
Yeah, we'll add 2 more Cup Series drivers to the feature race with Poole and McDowell there. Everybody from Jesse Awuji on down. Their night ends here as they will not make it to the feature race for Saturday Night Thunder from Richmond. Only 4 spots remain. Let's go to LCQ number 2. And the top spot in this one going to belong to the 13 of Chad Fincham. He'll be alongside with Austin Cindric second, Ruben Garcia the inside of row 2 third, and Scott Stenzel in P4. Those are the drivers who right now are in, with J.J. Yaley and Myatt Snyder behind him.
Spencer Boyd and Todd Gilliland roll off from row number 4. Ryan Ellis and Blake Cook in row number 5. Christian Eckes and Angela Ruck, row number 6.
Last driver in the field, Michael Annette. He'll try and get some luck here of the 13 drivers for the last chance to punch themselves into the show tonight. Some pretty talented drivers who I think, Evan, going to be fun to see if guys like Fincham, though, can hold on to track position.
And one of the fun things about iRacing and sim racing, Tim, is not only do we not have to, wait 30 minutes in between heat races to clear trucks and cars off of the track, clean it, and get back going. It happens instantaneously. Is also the fact that, these drivers, just in reference that 12-hour practice session that they had today to get unlimited track time. There's also been a couple of practice races as well with these drivers at this track, so they're not really going into totally unfamiliar territory if you get into that big 26 car field for this Saturday Night Thunder main event. So these drivers have, I'm sure, for those that are taking these most serious, have kind of gone through all the different options in LCQ number 2. I'm sure not where any of them wanted to end up being, but as long as you finish top 4, it doesn't matter how you got there. You'll be in the big show, and it's a whole new game from there.
Kevin Iannarelli told us from race operations that the practice races that they had were fairly clean. Not a whole lot of wrecks, not a whole lot of cautions, but there wasn't transfer positions on the line. Nim Cross used to tell me, my broadcast partner from the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series back in the day when we went to Richmond, whatever has not been probably will be by the end of a LCQ or a feature race, and I think we're going to see that. We saw a little bit of it in the first last chance qualifier. We might see it again here, especially if you're battling around the bubble, and we saw it happen fairly quickly in that first last chance qualifier. We'll see what transpires here, but Chad Fincham and Austin Cindric up front, that 22 on the outside, was fairly quick in his heat, was just on the wrong side of the inch. We'll see what he can do here.
And for all the drivers who have already advanced, they are spectating and watching this race right alongside all of you at home, seeing who those final 4 names to join them in the feature race will be. Pace truck down. Fincham's got a big advantage as Austin Cindric was slow at a turn 4, so Fincham leads to 1, but here comes Garcia. He makes it out to the inside. The fight going to be for second.
And already showing the strength of if you can stick the bottom, you're likely going to be moving forward. Fincham got a shot, though, from Cindric as they're really bottling up to get to that bottom.
It was not a good exit by Fincham. He was slow. Cindric bumped. Now here comes Garcia on the bottom of the race lead as Cindric bobbles, and the 22 car is going to lose some ground behind. Garcia inside. Fincham outside. The battle for the lead at LCQ number 2 as there's more contact now with Snyder and Cindric now. Stenzel's going to get a shot. They are all going at it in the battle for third in the shadows of the fight for the race lead as Garcia now goes to the point.
Myatt Snyder was aggressive for fourth, and he may have paid the price. Got a little bit sideways and lost that fifth place position. Up in front continues to be a battle for position number 2. Scott Stenzel up on the wheel to the inside of the 13 of Chad Fincham. Austin Cindric has position number 4, a 1-car length breathing room. Back to Blake Cook and the rest of the field. Now Cindric goes on to the attack on the back bumper of Stenzel.
And this is the battle for second. You can see Cindric watching on, and because of that mistake by Snyder, Blake Cook now the first driver on the outside looking in, running P5. That's the 57 Chevy up top. Let's take a second look, though, at that near incident that nearly took all these drivers in this battle for first on the back out of this race. Here's the on board with Myatt Snyder. He just got a little bit loose, locked it all the way to the right, and did a fantastic job of saving. But it's the track position. He lost that cost him, and now a pass for fourth as Blake Cook, the inside of Chad Fincham, moves into fourth.
Look at the shot behind. Eckes now wants to try and get through. Eckes nearly spun it right across the nose of Spencer Boyd, though, as Gilliland gives him a shot.
Eckes got taken out of the heat race, and he's not going to survive the LCQ as he took a heavy nose from Todd Gilliland. His night is done. Ryan Ellis's night also going to be done as the 78 car is slow at the back, and now the 38 going to go around. So everybody having issues as Gilliland gets turned off of 4. All of this in just 6 laps.
And now we have a battle for potentially a transfer position if Chad Fincham can get up on the wheel. Lost a little bit of time out of corner number 2. The 13 now has a front row seat for the battle for position number 3 as Cindric and Cook go at it, as we're going to take a look at the replay to see what transpired there, Evan.
Yeah, and you're going to see the O2 car get moved up and out of the way. There's contact there, and then the second piece is going to be down into turn number 1, a little bit hot on the brakes. No chance for Eckes, and he nicked that inside the wall, which didn't help much either. Then these two continued on to the back straightaway as we were talking about the issues from behind. Todd Gilliland in the center of attention here. That's Spencer Boyd in the O2. They'll give him a shot, take him out. So it is really rough and tough of action here from Richmond. That pass for third was completed. So Blake Cook moves Cindric up the racetrack just a little bit. He's now safer in third because Cindric now on the bubble be the one that Fincham's trying to chase down, Justin. I don't know if that 13 car's got time, though. Next time by, going to be 5 laps to go as we ride on board with Ford.
And before the emotions started coming into play, I was about to mention, if you lose the bottom for more than a lap, you're likely falling backwards. It's the same thing we've seen in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. You can defend for maybe half a lap per position, depending on how much grip you have on that middle line and how much rubber buildup there is. And Fincham just dropped like a rock as a result. So now, he's going to need to hope for a little bit of luck here because it looks like everyone's content where they're running. He needs somebody to make a mistake, I think, for him to close up enough time, especially since he's about a tenth of a second slower than these 4.
Yeah, the last time by, Fincham's lap time was a 22.957. He's trying to chase down Cindric to put down a .620. So just not going to happen at this juncture. That's not the only fight going on track because Scott Stenzel is plastered on the back bumper of Ruben Garcia up front. The battle for the race lead, and maybe here comes the battle for second because Blake Cook going to go to the outside on the 63.
The top 4 have buffer room, go where they're not, and Blake Cook wants to take position number 2 away. Got a great run at a corner number 2 to put himself to the outside in 3 and 4. Going to try to roll the top. Stenzel, little contact, and it's going to be the 57 taking that spot away. Great save by Stenzel, though. You got to keep it straight in order to make your way into the feature. Going to lose one more, though, with Stenzel. Here comes the 22 with Cindric.
Cindric trying to put him down as well. This would give, if Stenzel falls to fourth, the last spot on the grid for the 125 lap feature. All four cars in a transfer spot and been battling with no more than a couple of tenths of a second between them as the white flag is in the air for LCQ2. Garcia's got a couple of car lengths. He should be safe over Blake Cook in second. The fight for third going to go down to the wire as Cindric pulls at advantage. Stenzel diving to make a last-ditch effort. And at the front of the field, Ruben Garcia going to win LCQ number 2. Cook gets second, and he did it. Austin Cindric topside goes third atop Scott Stenzel. Final transfer in fourth.
And just like what we seen in the heat race for Chad Fincham, the bridesmaid just needed one thing to happen, couldn't get that to happen. In turn, Snyder, Boyd, Yaley, Eckes, Gilliland round out the top 10. This has been probably the wildest out of the heats and LCQs that we've seen so far, Evan, with so many drivers multiple laps down due to incident.
Yeah, you would have thought that with all the beating and banging, Tim, we had, as you see, all those drivers from fifth on back eliminated and are going home. And the feature race drivers now going to have a final 5-minute warm-up session before we go racing for real. I mean, you would have thought that was the main event with all the wrecks and different beats and bangs and incidents that we had that you thought it was maybe more than 13 drivers. But if they continue to save the fireworks for late in the evening, we could be in store for a whale of a feature race.
But now we've got more laps in this one. We got 125. It's no longer a 10-lap dash or a 15-lap LCQ. We're going 125 laps. I know some of these drivers up in front that got their good qualifying positions going to try to pace themselves a little bit, but I don't know what to expect. You're going to see some of those guys in the back try to come to the front. We saw some wild racing at Bristol. Can't wait to see what we see here at Richmond.
And of course, in addition to that 125-lap distance, we will see the possibility of caution flags in this feature as we take a look at our eNASCAR weather conditions. And that wind speed going to go up and down. The track temp may go up a bit as rubber gets put down, but we're not going to see the sun play a factor because it is nighttime conditions. But all of that does affect the racing. The iRacing dynamic sky and dynamic track, but with the possibility of yellows, just meaning that an incident will not automatically trigger a yellow like most iRacing competitions. It will be up to race control in the tower to decide if there will be a yellow, so unlikely we'll see one if it is just a few cars or if it is at the back of the pack and the track will be clear by the time the leaders get through, but that was not a factor early on, so that's something these drivers need to consider.
Absolutely, and depending on when you say get a yellow flag during the race, that can open up a lot of strategy windows in this race tonight. Whether drivers decide to stay out if there's a short caution flag period about up to 10 laps or so. If drivers elect to try and have a gamble towards the end of the race if they get a late caution flag. If drivers elect to take two tires, all of that is up in the air. Especially for these types of machines, it's going to be interesting to see what drivers elect to do if they get that scenario tonight.
And of course, it looks nice in the sim, but we are racing from the virtual version of Richmond Raceway in Henrico County, Virginia. The 3/4-mile short track plays host to, of course, all likes of NASCAR competition. And with a lack of on-track action, the Pro Invitational Series is going to be taking to tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on Fox FS1 and the Fox Sports app. As you can see, some of the NASCAR Cup Series stars take to it. But for this one, guys, as we get set for 125 laps, I'm going to put us on the spot. Who do you guys think will end up at victory lane? Justin, we'll start with you.
Well, last race, I had a strong feeling about LeBay. It nearly came through. This race, I have a strong feeling, in my opinion, on one of the other drivers. Josh Berry, I think, is going to be one of the drivers to beat tonight. My pick is Berry.
All right, Tim, we'll continue on down the line. Who do you think?
You know what? I was going to go with Barry as you see the starting grid, but since you guys picked the same driver on Tuesday night, I'm going to go different. Let me go down the road and go. Let's go with Landon Huffman. How about that? Let's go with 75.
Well, let's go trackside and take a look at your starting grid from Richmond. Landon Castle going to start this one from pole, courtesy of heat race number 1 win, and he will be joined by the 45 of Ty Majeski. Josh Berry, therefore, going to roll from third, along with Anthony Alfredo in a familiar car starting fourth. Alex LeBay from P5, and Chase Cabry starts in sixth.
Let's go with row number 4. It's Chase Briscoe and Landon Huffman, Bailey Curry, Kaz Gralla, Cole Custer will roll off from position number 11, and Ty Gibbs on the outside of row number 6.
Logan Seavey, the last winner for Saturday Night Thunder at Bristol, starting 13th. Keep an eye on him as Jeff Burton starts alongside him in row number 7. Derek Krause, Will Rogers round out row number 8. Matt Mills, Josh Policki inside the top 9 rows.
Continuing on through the likes of Justin Allgaier, Ruben Garcia, qualifiers from the LCQ, Truex, Cook, Poole, Cindric through row number 12. And at the very, very back of the field, it'll be a duo of Michael McDowell and Scott Stenzel. And Tim, I know this seems rather cheap, but my pick is Landon Castle, and yes, he is on pole for this feature race, but he was about a 4th or 5th placed car at practice earlier. I trusted his experience, so I just wanted to get that in there. And I know it sounds a bit fishy, but I do think the 89's got it.
You know, there's a few really good picks out in the back, too, that missed their qualifying effort. Guys like Logan Seavey starting mid-pack. You look on back through the pack, Justin Allgaier was quick in the LCQs as well. Scott Stenzel was decent in his LCQ as well. Going to try to get some track position here as the lights are out atop that pace truck getting ready to go green. There's lots of familiar names and familiar faces to a lot of race fans that are here, and to those that are on the iRacing service. This is going to be a very exciting 125 lap race. I think we're going to see some patience at the start, especially at the front, but we'll see how this one plays out. Landon Castle, Ty Majeski, 2 quick drivers on the front row getting ready to go green.
We've seen a lot of thrills, some spills, and it hasn't even really got underway until now. Pace car going to dive down to pit road. It is Landon Castle's field to control. Let's go racing from Richmond. This is Saturday Night Thunder.
And a picture-perfect start for Landon Castle, right to the bottom side as to be expected. Much better start for many of these drivers at the bottom side than they had earlier on in the heat races. But it's going to be interesting to see how they adjust to the track conditions, especially with a bit more rubber down from the heats and the LCQs.
You can see some drivers snuck up on the outside through the field, but everybody good at the completion lap number 1. Ty Majeski, though, went high and wide at a 4, caught the fence a little bit. That will cost him P2 as Josh Berry slides up and takes it, as well as Anthony Alfredo. So Majeski now dealing with that 90 of Alex LeBay. Unteed on the bottom line, but LeBay not going to be able to make it stick. So Majeski good for now. Your single file in the top 5.
Got just enough steam out of corner number 4 to complete that pass on the outside line, and now back to the inside, tries to set his sights on the drivers in front of him as you look back from Ty Majeski, back to the 90 of LeBay and the rest of the field. A couple of double file battles, Evan, but for the most part, these guys trying to get to the bottom, get single file, and try to log some laps here. And as I say that, there goes Majeski flashing the nose to the inside of Alfredo for position number 3.
And Tim had mentioned earlier, Justin, as we see Majeski down to the inside of Alfredo, this fight going to be for third. That we were talking about some of the practice races and the various events that have been going on. And one thing that was also brought up is this is one of the most difficult tracks on the service. And not to sound like a broken record, we said that at Bristol as well 2 weeks ago, but it's true. This portion on the calendar is not easy as Majeski gets on by, and now LeBay going to look for a crack at the 33.
We also have Berry now leading the group of drivers now, mind you, to an already pulling away by 0.2 of a second as these drivers continue to fight. But yeah, it's absolutely tricky because these drivers have to be able to maintain proper rhythm. If you have one mistake, especially at Richmond, everyone else is going to pounce and try and take advantage of it. We've seen it multiple times throughout the week across the service, as well as in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series race. You leave that bottom open, you're getting freight train to the back.
And on the top, you see the 67 of Logan Seavey, defending Saturday Night Thunder winner from Bristol, make a move on a Cole Custer. So Custer now dealing with Will Rogers on the bottom of the racetrack, and there's even some side-by-side in front of them because Bailey Curry, Derek Kraus there going at it in an exchange for 11th and 12th. But then also down on the bottom was the battle with the 25 car, and you see Seavey now got a front row seat of all of this action with Kraus on the bottom and Bailey Curry looking a bit stranded up there on that outside line.
And just around the top 10 positions as we continue to work, the 29 just ahead of this battle continues to work the inside of Anthony Alfredo, and then this battle with Derek Kraus trying to make his way through and bring Logan Seavey along with him. Seavey a little sideways off of corner number 4 that last time by, and opens the door for Cole Custer.
Yeah, we've seen that a couple of times. Drivers getting a little bit loose. Oh, and there's something going on at a turn 2 as it was Anthony Alfredo, I believe. Alfredo gives contact in a battle for 9th and 10th position. Gibbs got into him. Alfredo hung on, but it has created this absolute hornet's nest for P12 on back.
Yeah, and it becomes the question. If you put in up practice times, what did you set your brake bys to? If you put it to where you are too strong on quarter entry, that's where you have to start dialing back. And now, if you're in this pack, don't make a mistake. Take some deep breaths and try and keep calm and composed. If you let yourself panic, you're likely going to get in trouble.
And you can see on the left-hand side, somebody who has not been making mistakes is Josh Berry up front as we go on board with Justin Allgaier in the thick of things back here in traffic in the 7th, running in 16th spot. Berry's advantage, though, has grown to more than half a second out of Landon Castle in P2 on back, and actually starting to see some separation throughout the field. Again, we always wonder when you mix not only drivers from different NASCAR disciplines, Tim, but I think more importantly than anything, different levels of sim experience together. You're never quite sure what they're going to get. And you have the pucker moment with Gibbs and Alfredo. Down to the bottom right-hand side, you can see Josh Berry is pulling away from the fight at the top of your screen between Landon Castle and Ty Majeski for P2. Here comes the 45.
Majeski sets it down to the inside and will take position number 2, or at least attempt to, off of corner number 4. Will clear the blue emu number 89 of Landon Castle. Move Castle back to 3rd, and here comes the former NASCAR Pinty Series champion Alex LeBay, and behind him and Chase Cabry in position number 5. A great little battle for 2nd on back, and then just behind them, Chase Briscoe kind of leads the 2nd pack up with Landon Huffman and Kaz Gralla not too far in behind. So these drivers up here, Evan, seem a little more calm. They're logging some laps, getting some rhythm in, and then about outside the top 15 or so is where it starts to see that hornet's nest develop.
Yeah, mid-pack, it'll be an awful lot more difficult for drivers to be able to separate themselves as Anthony Alfredo is continuing to struggle. He's got passed up by Mills, and now Cole Custer going to go to his inside as well. So, all that mid-pack, and you heat up the tires, you get knocked a little bit sideways, you scuff them, and you can struggle. But the rest of the run is now up at the very front of the field. You see Josh Berry hit a milestone at a 1-second advantage over this fight now for 3rd. Alex LeBay, the next driver, is going to look to challenge the 89 of Castle.
Yeah, Castle just seems to be more comfortable, it seems, on the short run compared to some of the others who might be more comfortable on the mid to long run with how this car handles. And we're seeing how it's handling at this point. Castle was top 5 in pace for many of these drivers, but didn't have too many long runs in the past 3-4 plus hours or so. He does do a lot of races, but at the same time, you have to think anything can happen during a race scenario, and I think right now Castle might have burned up the tires a little bit more than some of his other cars, with the pace he's running being about half a tenth of a second slower than the rest of the top 5.
And it is a long race, so these should have the opportunity to recover from some of these early missteps as we see behind Allgaier. A battle, 34 of Michael McDowell on the inside of Ryan Truex. Those are two dames who had a bit of more excitement to their qualifying events than I'm sure they would have liked right now. Running 17th and 18th position, even further behind them, Blake Cook now on the inside of the 99 of Josh Bilicki. So throughout the field, drivers looking to make moves. So far, clean and green. 9th lap's going to be complete. And as I say that, McDowell gets in the Truex. We're going to go 3 wide as Blake Cook's on the bottom, and there's contact. McDowell around. Truex involved. Balicki as well. 3 cars and the first caution of the night.
That was a lot of take and not a whole lot of give between those two drivers. They were 3 wide. I don't know if Ryan thought they were 3 wide on the outside. Blake kind of rolled his foot out of it, and then you saw the aftermath. Tough break for those 2 drivers as the pace truck will collect the field, and that 88 of Josh Berry and the rest of the running order in behind. But Evan, little pushing, little shoving early in this race. 2 drivers had already had some laps this evening, went through the heat race, went through the LCQ, and now they got up into the main event, and they're still trying to jockey for a position near the back of the field as we're going to have some pit stops.
Yeah, race leaders could be down to the pit lane. It serves me right for saying so far clean and green, because literally right after I said that, we get the first yellow flag of the night. It'll erase the 1 second advantage that Josh Berry had over the rest of the field as we're headed down to pit lane. Ty Majeski, Landon Castle, 2nd and 3rd in line. Justin have better pit stall selection. We'll see if the 88 can maintain P1 off of pit road.
Yeah, absolutely. Just being able to gain an extra second in the pit lane delta can put you at least 2-3 positions up in this running order. Gonna be interesting, though, to see if anyone tries a different strategy. Looks like everyone on 4-1 a race off the pit lane.
An awfully close race off of pit road. Did Josh Berry hang on to it? We are not quite sure. He's currently shown in front of Ty Majeski. So maybe, just maybe, he was good enough. Let's, though, take a second look at that incident. And Blake Cook kind of had a huge factor in this, Tim, despite not actually having a factor. You're on board with McDowell, and you're going to see that he's going to come up and off of the quarter, and the inside's going to be open right there after the contact. So Blake Cook looks to the bottom, but then he bails out. McDowell thinks he's there. He stays high, therefore is in the line of Truex, and that's how they ended up in the fence.
And you saw that little bit of contact down the straightaway as well. So maybe Ryan Truex was maybe not giving Michael McDowell a whole lot of room compared to what he might have if that contact didn't happen. But at the end of the day, the 99 car of Josh Balicki, just a innocent bystander really through all of that. But that's what you get at Richmond. You get some short track racing. You get a little bit of sparks flying, some tempers bent. And that is going to happen. It's a product of short track racing. And those guys are going to have to come from the back of the field to try to make their way back up. But early in this race, we've seen Ty Majeski. He's been really strong. Got shuffled out on that outside line in the early run, and now he's going to have an opportunity to try to get up on the wheel from, again, the outside with Josh Berry to the inside. And a couple of drivers still making their way up through the field. We haven't seen, I don't think, all the cards on the table yet. Still early in this race. This is going to be exciting to see what happens on this restart and see if Ty Majeski can maybe find a spot in line.
And now that we're several weeks into these eNASCAR events across Saturday Night Thunder, the Pro Invitational Series, and others, we've talked about some of the drivers that have had success. And the duo here of Alex Labbe and then Chase Cabry, Tim, in P5 right now. Both of these drivers were real good at Bristol. And Chase, the driver out of Tampa, Florida, representing the ARCA Menard Series, off to a pretty good start here tonight, minus that little bit of back-end damage he got from contact earlier.
Yeah, when you look at the drivers that are up there, you got Chase Cabry, who was strong. You got Alex Labbe, who we mentioned won the qualifier at Texas, worked his way through the field. Landon Castle's been running some of the pro invitationals as well. Ty Majeski's been strong. You got a couple of drivers out back, Chase Briscoe, who's had a couple of runs on Sunday as well. So there's some drivers here that have had some experience since this COVID-19 pandemic broke out, and we've been limited to the virtual racetrack. And they're on the Saturday night show trying to make a name for themselves, but you get a guy like Josh Berry up in front. Short tracks are his thing, and right now proving it that it's going to pay off. He's leading this field down to green.
He's lucky to have maintained the race lead. He was the slowest on pit road with a 15.2 second stop, but he's able to maintain up front, that he's in control for this restart. Green flag, 100 laps still to go from Richmond. Majeski thought about going high, tucks in line, so first and second going to be settled. The fight is on for third as Alex Labbe trying to go high side around the 89 car at Castle.
And it looks like just on the way it's looking, Labbe trying to force Castle off the gas. The problem is you can only stay up there for so long, as we talked about, because you're able to send it much more harder for entry to Apex. right there. Castle just able to do exactly what he needs to do, get a good entry in 1 and 2, come off the corner.
And that's what we expect when drivers get, or rather lose that inside positioning, is you're going to be, the short end of the straw per se. And unfortunately for him, he has to tuck in line and give up that spot. As here's a challenge, the 75 of Landon Huffman. That's the orange and blue car back in the back. You're going to go on board with Kaz Gralla behind in the number 8 spot. And you got the best seat in the house watching Huffman and Briscoe go at it. This battle for 6th and 7th.
It looked like the 75 of Landon Huffman off that start was a little bit free on cold tires, was just trying to get a little bit of grip. It looks like the tires, at least for a couple laps, have come in. He makes that inside move on Chase Briscoe and now tries to set his sights on the side-by-side battle in front. Little crossover move there, though, as Chase Briscoe moves to the inside, puts that nose down there, and just in front, Alex LeBay has Chase Cabry on the inside, and now in front of him as the 4 car moves up 1 spot.
The 4 goes to P4, Huffman goes to P6, but it may be short-lived because now as we look off of the back of the St. Albert, Quebec native of Alex LeBay, you can see that Briscoe has gotten back down to his inside. He'll clear and get the spot back just as quick as he lost it. So it is a 0 net gain in that exchange for 6th and 7th. We're back where we started. Briscoe ahead of Huffman. 6th and 7th position. This is a big string of cars, though. Cabry on back as the top 3 have been able to separate themselves a little bit further.
Yeah, and it looks like it's not going to be quite over yet because Briscoe's got himself some good pace. Just needs to make sure he doesn't have bobbles like he did off turn 4 and just stay nice and calm. Here's the problem, though, if you fight too aggressively. You're going to burn up your tires very quickly. You're going to heat them up fairly quickly. And in turn, you're going to struggle on the long run. That's what some of the drivers talked about for the NASCAR side of things for Tuesday. You have to weigh. Are you faster than the car ahead? Do you want to pass them? Or if you feel like you're faster, you just save your tires and try and maintain gaps to, say, Huffman and focus on that. There's a lot of different routes you can go in the mind of a driver.
And you can see now that we kind of get 5 to 10 laps into a green flag run, and you kind of get your land legs underneath you. These drivers have opportunities to spread out and set drivers up. Here comes Ty Gibbs working on the inside of Gralla for 8th and 9th position. The Monster Energy number 18 has got the back end caved in, and there's side-to-side contact as Gralla came down on him, punted the 18 machine. Gibbs is back on track, but he's going to lose a ton of time, and it's Will Rogers now to the bottom of both of them.
And Ty Gibbs almost lost the nose a little bit into turn number 3 that last time, and they keep it straight, but it's short track racing. Gibbs leans into that number 29 of Gralla a little bit. Gralla gets to the inside line in that Fury Race Cars entry, but now has the 19 of Derek Kraus on his back bumper. Gralla has to do some stick handling here at a corner number 4. He's going to be 3 wide in the middle.
We've seen 3 wide not work. How does it play out here as the 19 of Kraus holds the inside? Gibbs is going to tuck in line to allow Gralla and Kraus to go at it. The 19 machine working on the inside line, now still on board with the Gibbs from behind. Getting a good look at all the action. You can see single file, plenty of space in front. This is the first battle on track, and Derek Kraus has been on the move, started 15th, and he wants to get inside of the top 9, trying to finish this pass on Kaz.
Yeah, and he's one of the drivers who has a decent amount of iRacing experience, and we're seeing some of that again. Very solid driver, very consistent driver, and is someone who doesn't usually be over-aggressive unless someone really pushes him towards that direction. So we're seeing that nice, calm, and cool, collected composure to get him now +6 from the drop of the green flag already. Keep in mind, though, the driver behind him in Gibbs has been not afraid to use the bumper, has already bumped 2 different drivers for position tonight.
He's been in some contact, so you got the likes of Rogers and company moving up, but if there's drivers going to forwards, there's drivers going to backwards, and we're on board with one of them, Bailey Curry, out of Driftwood, Texas. Started 9th, but has fallen to P12. It has actually been worse, but he ended up in 17th position. He's just ahead of Anthony Alfredo, who started in 4th and is running in 13th position. So those are 2 drivers who have not had a good start to their race since we dropped the virtual usual, American Ethanol green flag. Now seeing Curry back down on the bottom of Gralla. The fight's going to be 11th and 12th right now, and the 74 inside should have it.
We mentioned that Bailey Curry earlier had a lot of speed in practice, moves up one more spot, and now the 29 Agrala continues to be held up on that outside line. Now to the inside, enter Anthony Alfredo. And it looks like after you get to that 33 car, Kaz Gralla might have a little bit of room to get to the inside before Blake Cook gets there, but he's going to lose a ton of positions. Going to be back around 13th if he gets to the end of this conga line. They continue to battle for that spot. Up in front continues to be Josh Berry by about 5 lengths over Ty Majeski, and they've extended the lead over Landon Castle. So for the most part, except for this battle right here, it seems like everybody is single file picking off some quick passes. See Will Rogers moving to the inside now.
Yeah, and the benefit, I think, for Majeski, as well as he's been able to close the gap a little bit to Josh Berry on this run. He hasn't checked away out. The top two have, in fact, blown everybody else away. Landon Castle in third is some 2 seconds behind. But Majeski could be making a valiant effort here to not allow Josh Berry to stroll away with things. Left-hand side of the screen is the battle for the race lead. And on the right, it's the fight for fourth, where the 90 of Alex LeBay is under fire because Avery and Huffman are all over him down in 1 and 2.
Now, right now, looking at the average pace the last 10 laps, it's been basically the same amount of speed as Castle and Majeski for LeBay. The thing is, though, he's been having to focus more what's going on behind him in his mirror more than he's been able to focus on trying to slowly but surely reel in Landon Castle. So I think it's important to keep that strong rhythm once again, as there goes Derek Krause again, this time attacking Rogers.
He's going to want to make the move before Rogers can get up into his spot and kind of do it on his own as Briscoe pulls away. Kraus trying to finish this down on the bottom, a little bit sideways. That time at a 4, they touched. It actually benefited Will Rogers. Now again, the 19 pushes up, and Derek Kraus is going to bully Will Rogers out of the spot.
And bully him out of a couple of more spots. Ty Gibbs gets by. The 74 Bailey Curry gets by before Rogers can get back into line in behind the number 74 of Bailey Curry. So he loses a couple of positions. Speaking of, Curry flashes the nose to the inside of Gibbs. They'll go side by side down into corner number 1. Add Anthony Alfredo to the mix, as well as the 33 car inches his way up into this battle. Great short track racing here as we near that 50 lap mark.
And of course, trying to work our way through this 125 lap main event. Now on the longest green flag run that we have seen so far in this one, as it is Rogers making the move on the inside of Curry, puts a nice little bow on it, and that one is taken care of. So he'll take over the number 10 position. Next on deck would be Anthony Alfredo, who is still trying to recover. And we talk about the plus minuses, and you go on board there with the driver of the 33 machine out of Ridgefield, Connecticut, the NASCAR Xfinity Series driver. I do want to give a call behind the Blake Cook, who started 22nd and is up to 14th. One of many drivers, and Alfredo included, who find themselves kind of back in the teens here and are trying to work their way back up into the top 10.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, Alfredo had that contact before early on in this race. That put him behind the 8 ball. Cook, he's one of the drivers who show good speed, had some luck here and there, not go his direction. But Landon Huffman, he's showing some good pace once again, and as someone that has been looking to grow his presence and try and help young drivers in sim racing, gets a bit of luck as Cabry hit the wall.
Yeah, that was an uncharacteristic blunder by the 4 of Cabry, who just went too high. Not like the 75 pushed him up, hit the wall, and that was a good bit of damage. You'll see the right side of that car crinkled up just a little bit. Tim, your metaphor, or your I guess statement from earlier coming true, and there's a good onboard look. You can see the right front of that car all crinkled up as he's got some of the bent sheet metal, but basically a free spot for Huffman to take over 5th.
Yeah, that's definitely bent on the outside of Cabry's car, but he should still be able to get up on the wheel here. I don't think there's going to be any suspension damage to that race car. He hit it flush. He didn't hit it too hard, but going to lose that position and going to try to wheel back up here and see what he has for the rest of this one. But a long run starting to form here. And speaking of battles, how about this one? Will Rogers to the inside. Little contact from in behind. Anthony Alfredo wants to go. Alfredo in the 33 has Curry to the inside as well. Kraus is stuck on the outside. Alfredo still to the inside, looking to pick that one up on Kraus. Kraus to the outside.
And we always talk about, the biggest thing that it separates sim racing from the real world, obviously, is you can't feel the car underneath you. But I promise that 55, Will Rogers Johnson felt that one in the pit of his stomach when that car broke loose and he got hit from behind. You get that kind of rush of cold air up your spine and you panic, you tense up, and he did a really good job of hanging on to it. Could have been bad as Anthony Alfredo gave him a bump from behind, but everything's fine. We stay okay. And it's been this group of race cars all night long from Briscoe and 7th on to back that has really been putting on a show for us.
Yeah, it's been really exciting to see what's been going on.
You see Gibbs in the middle of all of this, Will Rogers, Anthony Alfredo, and now on board with that 55 machine trying to chase down. And Derek Kraus it is actually in 11th position. He's kind of sandwiched in the middle of all of this. He's gone to +4, but had been a top 10 car a bit earlier, trying to get back in that position. Just trying to log laps, Tim Terry, as we are closing in on halfway home.
The 19 of Derek Kraus had that outside line a couple of laps ago, was able to find a spot in the line, but you hit the nail on the head. He's kind of mid-pack there. You can see him 2 cars back from this onboard shot as the 55 of Rogers up on the wheel of Ty Gibbs. Gibbs holds that second place position per se in this lineup right behind Chase Briscoe, but they're all tucked up tight together. If one of these drivers gets on the outside line, Evan, they're bound to lose at least a couple of positions. That's how close-knit they are right now, and they work around this racetrack on lap number 58. Briscoe holds that top spot in this train, and then you see up there's a little bit of a gap to that next place position in 6th.
Yeah, the top 6 have been able to stretch out a little bit. Caberty's got that spot, and he's about 1.4 seconds ahead of this big group of race cars. So obviously trying to separate yourselves and distance each other is a benefit. But as we continue to work into this run, Justin, it brings us back to the point that Tim made when we talked about our track facts and kind of a race analysis for this one was what he called the trap-laffic, what normal people call lap traffic, and the race leaders are starting to have to deal with all of that now.
Yeah, they already have to deal with Josh Bilicki getting on by him. Barry now has a few more drivers up in front of him, too, to deal with in just a few laps or so. Brennan Poole, Ryan Truex, the next drivers up the road. And it's not a laughing matter when that lap traffic, say, gets to the battle for 7th, because if you reach one of those lap cars at the wrong place at the wrong time off the corner, say you're looking to try and set up a pass, you're either going to have the lap car used as a pick, or you're going to lose time trying to avoid the lap traffic, as Gibbs is given the spot by Briscoe.
And look at Briscoe. He tried to cross the back up, though, as he looked back down to the bottom of the racetrack. Has got the inside positioning. Oh, there's going to be contact. Gibbs gets tagged. It is just him, but a quick caution, and we'll slow it down just shy of halfway, and a late shot there as Matt Mills hit Ty Gibbs. The slightest bit of contact, Tim, and it was enough to turn the 18.
Little bit of give, little bit of take, and maybe a lack thereof in a little bit of that battle, but the caution flag will fly, and we're creeping up on lap number 62, 63, so around that halfway point, we've had a couple of cautions. The rhythm to this race has been spectacular. As you look at the Blue Emu number 89, we'll take a little look at the replay there once again. You saw it live, we'll take another look at it.
You know, we got away with so many similar incidents, but just not this time. There was Gibbs completing the move, and then Briscoe went for the crossover. Let's see from the onboard if he pushes up. I mean, right there you can see he locked the wheel all the way to the left, but he only pushed up maybe a foot or two, but that was enough with Gibbs trying to contest the position and holding him on the bottom for those cars to get into each other, and it is a caution flag for the spin of the 18 car. Back down to pit road at the cross flags. Josh Berry once more going to have to deal with Ty Majeski on the race off for the pit lane. It was awfully close last time. Let's see if they can nail it in the service.
Yeah, this should be 4 tires and fuel once again with how many laps we turned. You stay out on the track on old tires, you're likely falling back here. But this is a caution I think many competitors needed to see to get back in the conversation this race.
And we watch for the race off the pit lane. It is close, but not as close as the last time. Barry almost comfortably able to maintain the top spot off the pit road. Majeski second, Castle third, followed by Landon Huffman, who may have leapfrog Alex LeBay. No, they're going to give it back to LeBay in fourth, Huffman fifth. So really no changes through the top seven, with Cabry and Briscoe through P6 and 7. And was just glancing up to the pace car, Tim, to see if anybody dared stay out, and only Brennan Poole did from 3 laps down. So he's looking for a wave by to get one of those laps back. He'll go to now just being 2 laps down, and he'll get waved by when we get the one to go. But all of your race leaders down for service and seem pretty unanimous on the 4-tire decision.
I think you kind of have to, especially with the way the pace of this race has been going. You see, 20, 30 lap green flag runs. I think at this point you have to come down, take 4 tires, pack it full of fuel, and be on your way. I think we're going to see another green flag run here, just the way the rhythm has been going. These guys, for a short track where we expect a little more leaning into each other and, maybe using the bumper, I think there's a lot of respect being shown here by these drivers. We saw Bristol had a few caution flags. I think they may have learned from 2 weeks ago, and they're putting on a show tonight.
It has been, and just 2 caution flags through the opening half of this race, Justin, I think is a pretty good number. We've seen some great racing. I don't think we've ever hit a patch where there was a lull in the action and no fighting going on throughout the pack. I know Josh Berry's trying to wax everybody up front, and Ty Majeski, those 2 on the screen right there, is doing his very best to not allow that to happen. But it is, I think, the rest of the 26 car field who's really been making this one entertaining.
Have to definitely agree with you, because drivers like Barry, they put in a lot of preparation, as we talked about. Many drivers did, but he was also one of the drivers who was competing even in official races, say in the NASCAR iRacing Series, which is essentially the half-distance Cup Series races. He was the best non-Coca-Cola driver in that field. But I've been really impressed with what we've seen from guys like Rogers, like Kraus, with the battles they've been having and the respect they've given to some of their competitors tonight. I think as well you have to give a shout out to guys like Bailey Curry, who are also trying to keep their cars as clean as they can and be as gentlemen as they can in terms of how they use the race cars and the contact that they haven't been doing.
There is a bit of finesse and maybe some P's and Q's required to not upset anybody at Richmond, because this is a track where if you move somebody out of the way, they can pay you right back, and that is not how you want your night to maybe end. The pace truck, as though, is off and in. It'll be a restart with 67 laps down and 58 to go from Richmond. Very good up front. He'll lead. Majeski stays second. Once more, will fight for third. Alex LeBay looking for a top 3 spot.
And in the middle of the pack, we're 3 wide already. Logan Seavey is making his way back to the front of the field. You see it there on the wide shots. 3 wide. Bailey Curry in the middle, and now Briscoe in the sucker hole on the inside. Here comes Cole Custer, almost 4 wide down into corner number 1.
And Cole Custer, somebody else who's been working hard to try to get out of this mid-pack area, hasn't been able to do it. And look at all the 2 wide. It's all the way out from Briscoe and Kraus on through as these cars stacked up like they would be for a race start. As Kraus now looks to the crossover, can't do it. Briscoe, though, is into the outside wall. We're going to go 3 wide as Anthony Alfredo stuck in the middle. The 29 Agrala on the bottom, and Alfredo going to get loosened up. Somehow, though, we're good.
And somehow we are still clean and green. Drivers like Rogers spun around, kept it going, kept their foot in it. But again, give a shout out to drivers like Custer at the back end of all this crazy battling and the consistency. Custer just got sent to the wall.
Oh, and there's more contact. That's the 29 Agrala. The 67 of Seavey got bumped into him after contact with Briscoe. And Agrala was able to hang on in that Fury number 29 Chevy, so he'll be okay. But he loses more positions and now falls down to P12. Not a good showing for Agrala, who has been pretty good tonight. Looking off for the bumper now of Chase Briscoe in 8th. Watching Logan Seavey get passed by Blake Cook. I mentioned a bit earlier, Tim, that he was on the move, and he is now in 9th.
Remember, I said there was a lot of give and not a whole lot of take. I think we saw a lot more take on that restart than we have on the first 2 this evening. As you see Garcia battling side by side with Bailey Curry, the 18 of Gibbs there as well. And now we get back to the single line on the inside, couple of drivers on the outside, and this is where we really start to see that rhythm come in as opposed to that 2 and 3 wide sense of urgency we have off those restarts. Kaz Gralla on the outside, Ty Gibbs on the inside. They'll go side by side down into corner number 1.
Seems like these are some of the names we're talking about all night long, Justin. Doesn't matter where they are in the field. Gralla and Gibbs have had a busy night in the 18 car. Makes it through on the bottom, so give the spot to the Monster Energy Toyota. Next on deck, Bailey Curry once more. The 74, a top 10 car all week long in practice and qualifying. Started 9th in this feature, finding himself back in traffic, trying to regain some of the ground lost.
Yeah, and he's got a bit of damage. You might notice it just on the right side of the onboard. You can see here just where it's popped up just a little touch. He was the man who hit Cole Custer, and I think it's really affecting a little bit at the end of the straight line speed. It's not going to be too much of an issue, but remember, if you smack that nose completely in on your race car, you risk overheating the engine. That's been a major factor at Richmond all week.
And that doesn't have anything to do with, external temps. It's just you get front-end damage and damage the radiator on these things. And obviously they can get hot and blow up quick. So that's why if you had to pick one or the other, I would take the bumper damage on the back of the car as opposed to the front-end nose damage. But an ideal situation, Tim, would be a clean race car. I know not everybody going to leave Richmond with one, but it seems that the cars up front that have not been in this chaos are the best looking cars on track right now. All these mid-pack guys showing some sort of battle wounds.
But that's short track racing. But Evan, at the end of the day, isn't it, if you have your damage on the front, is where you can see the 74 slideways, little bit of help from that 29 of Kaz Gralla. And it almost goes to my point, Evan, if the damage is on the front end of the race car, that means you're doing work. If the damage is on the back end of the race car and the back bumper, doesn't that mean you might be in the way a little bit?
I think that's how these drivers communicate in Morse code, is a couple of taps on the bumper, and I think is racing for get up and out of the way and to get on to move it. So Bailey Curry's going to lose some position through all of that. We'll take a second look at the iRacing replay, and you can see it'll be a late dive. I mean, really no indication on board there with Curry that the car was going to make that dive to the bottom. Of course, the 29 machine got into him and was able to hang on to it. It'll drop Curry, just as I mentioned, who was trying to get back through into the top 10, now falling to 17th, just past Justin Allgaier, who sits in front in the number 16 spot.
Yeah, and now the fight, though, continues on. Give a shout again to Logan Seavey, because remember, Gibbs is the man who gave Seavey a shot. Seavey went to the back end of the top 20. Now he's basically fighting for the top 10 once again. So I think Seavey's shown good composure, especially since it's been crazy around where Briscoe, Cook, and so forth have been all race long for 7th on back.
And inside now of what is 45 laps to go, now 44 from the virtual Richmond Raceway. Watching this 3 wide, oh, and that is not going to work. Chase Briscoe into the outside wall. Anthony Alfredo spins as well, and that will be a caution at lap number 82. We've seen 3 wide survive, but no way that was going to happen as Alfredo was on the apron with that dive.
They are starting to really ramp up the intensity, that give and take. It's a little more take than there is give, trying to get to the front of the field and get to the front of the field to position yourself for a chance to win this race. And maybe the temper's boiled over a little bit, and we're going to see a little more bent virtual sheet metal here as we take another look at it.
And this is one of those cases, Justin, with that wide open inside that we touched on right at the top comes a factor. Alfredo's got a little bit of a run. You see holding the bottom there is Briscoe, but he keeps going. Briscoe not really going to give him the spot, so Anthony Alfredo, instead of hitting the eject button like some drivers have done earlier and kind of bail out, holds his ground, and again, drove it in way too hard anyways with the tires down on the apron, and they just about cleaned them all out. Those are more fast race cars now that are out of this race or damaged and at the back, and your top cars are pitting, led by Barry.
It almost looked like there, Evan, actually, that Alfredo was trying to back out of it. It's just he wasn't expecting the squeeze from Briscoe, so when Briscoe squeezed that much down, it was too late by the time you realized, I think, what was happening to be able to get on the brakes hard enough to get back to single file or double wide for that battle with Seavey. and it just put them in trouble as things are shaking up, though, a little bit with the pit stops.
Yeah, you speak of Logan Seavey. How about he and Landon Castle with 9-second pit stops? Those two drivers opting to go for just 2 tires. It has been 4 and gas all night long, Tim. And when I had asked and kind of made that point earlier, you said that, well, they really don't have much of a choice with the length of the runs that we have been seeing, but a bit of a shorter one. See Seavey and Castle gamble for the track position. It'll drop Josh Berry to 3rd, where he leads everybody else who took 4.
I think it's a good gamble for Logan Seavey. He was the middle of the pack, out around the top 10 or so, and right really in that hornet's nest where we saw that pushing and that shoving for position. Landon Castle was running inside the top 5. I don't know if it was more of a gamble. I think the safe gamble would have been 4 tires like Josh Berry and some of those others out back took, but I think if you're Logan Seavey, you kind of had to do it. Now, I want to step back to Tuesday night for a moment with that eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. We'll make that move that Jarl Tien made where he stayed out and played the tire strategy, and there was caution after caution after caution, and he finished up front. I don't think we're going to see that many cautions at the end of this one to have that strategy pay off, and with 2 tires, it's better than no tires. I don't know how this plays out for some of those drivers. We got 40-ish laps to go. I don't know if that was the last pit stop. We see another 30 laps of green. I'm just trying to ramble on and trying to make a decision here as to what I would take on the pit stop, and it's kind of rough.
In either case, when you got late race restarts at Richmond, I would tighten the belts, because who knows what's going to happen as this race closes in. Right now it is the final 40 laps of this one. And if you're just tuning in with us, happy that you're joining us on the iRacing Esports Network for eNASCAR Saturday Night Thunder. Drivers from the Xfinity Series, the Truck Series, the ARCA Menard Series, and more competing in this invitational from Richmond. Evan Pasoko, myself, along with Tim Terry and Justin Prince on the call with you as we work now into the end of this one. Of course, all of this a precursor to the big show tomorrow. The eNASCAR Pro Invitational iRacing Series takes to right here, virtual Richmond Raceway. It is a 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time start for that one on Fox FS1 in the Fox Sports app. None of these drivers, however, competing in that one. The pace truck gonna dive down and in. Landon Castle started on pole some 87 laps ago, and it's the first time since real early on that he's back up front on the 2 tires. Green flag flies, we're back underway, and Josh Berry already getting around Seavey on the 4 tires for second.
Looked like Seavey had a little bit of tire spin actually at the start. That was one of the risks if you took 2 tires with that 30-lap differential. The gamble? They're hoping track position and caution breed cautions give them good track position. It's not working for Seavey, working well for Castle though.
Yeah, Castle so far so good, but Josh Berry's closed it into a car length difference for first and second. Watching this fight for 4th on back as Seavey trying to hold the outside, now passed by the 75 machine, so Huffman gets on by. Chase Cabry going to be the next driver down and onto the inside, and more battles. Ty Majeski back in traffic. He's fighting with Ty Gibbs. Gibbs going to be the upper hand in that one. So a lot of drivers mixing up spots, including now a fight for the race lead. Bear to the inside of Castle, and the 89 car has nothing to fight back with, and Josh Berry back to the race lead with 35 laps to go.
Ty Majeski kind of got boxed in on that restart behind Logan Seavey and just had a little bit of contact with the 18 of Ty Gibbs. They're racing back here just on the back end of the top 10 like they're racing with 5 laps to go. Here's a little bit of it right here. Ty Gibbs to the inside of Will Rogers. Derek Kraus right ahead of him. And where did Michael McDowell come from? He's trying to make a move late here with Blake Cook and a little bump to Kazgrala.
And if you remember, Gibbs was just fighting with Majeski for 7th and 8th, but he nearly got turned. That's why he's back here fighting with Will Rogers instead for 12th and 13th spot. And Rogers can be able to make the pass on the bottom, so give it to the 55 Ford. Ty not done, though. Crossing him up is in front. The battle is on between Blake Cook and Kazgrala. That is the duo for 8th and 9th position. McDowell now gets loosened up as Derek Kraus gave on the bumper, and that'll allow him to make the pass on the bottom.
And keep an eye right here on the side-by-side about to ensue, because Gralla was the man who moved Kraus out of the way. Kraus try and do the same to Growler. Looks like Growler knows that there might be some emotions coming to play. Just gave him a lot of space throughout that entire corner. And actually was trying to side draft just a touch, try to squeeze him down a little bit for the corner entry.
Yeah, he is trying to tighten that up and choke up on him a little bit, but it's not going to be enough in the exchange with the 19 and the 20. So Derek Kraus gets the spot.
And they continue to work the 34 on the outside. Michael McDowell, Will Rogers behind them. Bailey Curry battling side by side with Briscoe. They're coming down to the end of this race as they continue to give a little bit here in this battle. There's not a whole lot at take as of yet. Still got a couple of laps left to work. Up in front, Josh Berry pulling away. This battle continues to be one of the best within the top 10. There's a shot of your top 3. And Landon Huffman's got a little bit of strength here late in this race. He's moved up to position number 3.
He was very good on the pit stops, was the fastest of the cars who opted to go for a 4-tire change, and that got him up to 3rd. Justin, track position big.
Yeah, track position is very big. Castle tried it, hasn't worked towards his direction. I mean, as much as he worked, it's still a 2nd position, I should rather say, so far. It hasn't worked for CV, though, all the way back in the 7th spot, and is already dropping back towards battles such as this. So, it was a gamble. You had to try it, though, to try and get the track position, because you never know if you're going to get a quick caution flag and then keep all the positions you gain.
As they continue to battle for this position, Kaz Grawl has been swatting flies back here. The 74 of Bailey Curry trying to get to the back bumper of the number 29. Agrala for the spot in behind them. Briscoe trying to roll that inside, pick up one more spot. McDowell hasn't been able to get to the outside on this battle as you ride on board with Bailey Curry trying to get one more, and now a battle near the front of the field. It's Ty Majeski and Alex LeBay battling for what will be position number 5. Give Majeski the spot. He'll try to close up on Cabry.
Yeah, it's a role reversal of the battle that was happening earlier, because it had been LeBay who chased down to Majeski, and this time, after Ty had the rough go on the restart, it is a reversal as he's making the move on the 90 to take back position number 5. On board with Derek Kraus. He rides in 9th spot right now and is trying to make a pass to Blake Cook, but it's not going to matter. A caution flag and an issue back in the pack between Cole Custer and Jeb Burton. There you see Josh Berry, your race leader, now just come up on the scene. Race control having to throw that yellow because the track was not clear, and we get a yellow right at lap number 100.
Yeah, but it was more so actually with Justin Allgaier and Cole Custer, where it seemed like Allgaier had pushed up the track. Custer tried to take the outside line, and unfortunately for many drivers, plenty of them got involved in an absolute stack up in 3 and 4. You got to throw the O in that situation with so many drivers involved and struggling to get back going in first gear. But now, this worked out for Castle, still on the 2nd spot. For CV, he gained +3 positions as here's what happened. Remember, Custer already up at the top, Allgaier pushed up tight.
And there's going to be 2 incidents. There's Allgaier up and into him, and I watch Jeb Burton right there behind. He turns left to avoid the contact in front, gets into Truex, and that's how Burton entered the equation. It was essentially 2 different 2-car incidents happening at the same time, and that is another handful of fast race cars toward up in this one. We saw drivers go for the 2 last time. It was an even shorter run. 2 more drivers gamble. Josh Berry going to be in and out of the pit lane nice and fast, but at the front he may not have done it. Castle in the 89 machine, I think, stays up there with another 2-tire call, and they are all going to be chasing Anthony Alfredo as well as Briscoe lapped car. So Alfredo, the only lead lapper to stay out outright tonight.
That was your advantage of the first pit box for Landon. Castle was able to shoot towards that line and get that first place position off of the pit lane. You got the 88 of Barry in behind. Landon Huffman started to really flex his muscle near the end of this. Chase Cabry is there as well. And remember, Chase kind of flexed his muscle a little bit at the end of the Bristol race. Really didn't, he was up there, but really got to the front and tried to make it happen when the checkered flag flew. So we'll see what happens here and see if he can get a little bit of a short run and try to position himself for something. But I think they're going to have to beat Josh Berry, but now Josh Berry, Landon Castle on the same tire strategy. We'll see what happens here.
And we will see, because I don't think, Justin, if we get another 5 or 10 lap run, that we're going to see drivers flock back down to the pit lane. This may have been the final bit of service. If necessary, tonight could have up to 3 attempts at a green-white checkered finish. But this late, I think these drivers are going to opt to just take the track position outright like Alfredo and just try to stay out there and maybe hope in the 33's case. He's got speed, no doubt, started 4th in this race, but just hasn't been able to put the race together. Obviously got caught up in that incident just a little bit ago. He's hoping for some short runs here, and that every yellow flag we see takes 4 or 5 laps away from Josh Berry, who's going to be trying to catch him.
That's exactly why you stay out on that strategy call here, Evan, at this point. And for everybody else, if you pit, you're likely not going to get back to where you were unless you have a lot of attrition and contact pop in. Let's put it that way. So I absolutely agree with you that many of these drivers took their last pit stops. Whatever your strategy you're on, you're stuck on it. Alfredo, he's going to have to hope for a little bit of luck, because I think we both know here, Evan, if he gets even 5-10 laps, he'll likely be burned right on by turn 1 entry.
We also questioned off at the start of the night, would the change from the ARCA Menard Series styled cars to these Xfinity cars benefit the Xfinity drivers? So, well, the answer has been not really. There is only one Xfinity driver in the top 10, and he's the driver leading this race right now, Anthony Alfredo, in the number 33 Chevrolet. The pace truck's going to dive down and in for a restart with 20 laps to go. From Richmond, green flag flies. We're back underway. And Josh Berry again, so good from row 2. He'll cut the inside of Castle for second as we're 3 wide behind.
Cabry threw it into turn number 1, and they're still 3 wide off the corner. A little more contact, and it's going to send the 75 around of Landon Huffman off of Alex Labbe. They somehow, well, no, not anymore. Caution flag will fly. I was about to say they kept it straight. Little glancing blow, and one more car stuck in the inside as the yellow flag flies. And Evan, I almost thought for a second, hey, they're going to keep this thing straight, and went down to the corner, and those things went to the left, and it collected a couple more. Yellow flag flies.
They were almost able to hang on to it as they all got tangled up on the outside. It looked like they almost kind of self-righted there, but not going to be the case. And it was that battle 3 wide for 4th where it all happens. We'll get a second look here in just a moment on the iRacing replay. And it all has to do with stepping down, Justin, because Huffman went from the outside to the bottom. And then when he went all the way down, that forced the 4 car on his inside of Cabry to go way down. Here it is.
Yep, you caught it right there, Cabry, right there on the inside. Already was pushing up. And I think Huffman thought he might have gotten clear, or Labbe would have backed off. Instead, comes right across the nose. The belly up the esports machine had his night just go completely belly up in terms of performance.
Yeah, he just squeezed a little bit too high on the 90 machine, and the Globacam 90 of Alex Labbe had nowhere to go, gets hooked it into the outside wall, and that is where the caution flag comes from. And we slow things down again. Josh Berry did advance his position, courtesy that very good restart. Tim, he moves to second, but it is more laps led for Anthony Alfredo as we'll get a second perspective on that incident.
We'll take one more little look at it. On board from Alex Labbe in the 90 as he's following along with Landon Castle. They're 3 wide underneath him, and there really wasn't a whole lot of room to the outside between himself and the wall, and Landon Huffman comes up in the line, and then they spin out down into turn number 3, which ultimately brought that yellow flag out. But now they have some work to do from the middle to the back of the field, trying to come back up Labbe. Last time by scored in 22nd, and now 20th place.
And unsurprisingly, Justin Prince, nobody at the front of the field opting for service this time. The pit stops mainly coming from drivers at the back who were trying to either get damage repaired or figure, hey, I'm already running back here. Why not go for the 4 tires and see if we can get something if we have a green flag run? But as kind of expected, your race leaders opting to defend. They're locked in for this one.
Yeah, and if you're Alfredo, you're hoping for a little bit more luck like that, more caution precautions, more 3-4 lap runs as you hit upon, because that'll burn an extra 4 or 5 laps for caution flag off and puts 4 or 5 less laps you have to play defense. I think if we didn't get that caution flag, there was a chance Josh Berry would have got the pass done by the end of the second lap of the run. That's how quick that 88 machine has been all night. Alfredo might need a little bit more luck here once the green flag drops to try and hold on still.
And that's the thing is, if we get 14 or whatever the number is going to be, Tim, to go, and we run that out, I just don't see Anthony Alfredo being able to hold off Josh Berry. But if you get a chaotic restart, or I think more likely if there's another incident, again, Alfredo's the control car. He dictates when he wants to go between when that pace truck dives off in 3 and actually when they come to the green flag, just a couple hundred feet shy of the start finish line. That gives him a big advantage. If he can get quick yellows, that could be a path to victory lane as the lights go out.
It depends how wild they get and how quickly they get wild from about 5th on back. We saw that with that incident 3 wide. Going for a top 5 position. We'll see how quickly they decide to get at it and get busy. But Alfredo has the advantage up in front. The question is how long does it stay green? We saw the sort of thing break out on Tuesday night with that eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series race at the very end with some short green flag spurts. We'll see if we can get a rhythm in here late. We'll come to 14 to go this time.
And what will the 33 do? He was very slow at a restart last time, held him up. He'll do the same, waits about 2 seconds. Now right foot down, green flag. Will fight though behind for 3rd. Here comes Ty Majeski to the inside of Castle. Now Berry gives a shot to the bumper of Alfredo, and the fight for the race lead is looking low.
And it looks like Berry's going to get this one. Alfredo, as much as he wanted, just didn't get enough laps and enough time to even try and defend. Move Berry up to the point of the precious tire, one of the precious tires in the field.
And now down into turn number 1, he is clear. New race leader at lap 113, Josh Berry back to the point. Man, has he been oh so good so far tonight. The fight now going to be for 3rd. It was Majeski who had such a good start, came flying up the inside line. And you can see him there on the inside of Landon Castle. It's going to hog tie 3rd on back. And now Majeski clears, leaving Castle to the wrath of the 4 of Cabry.
And the 18 of Ty Gibbs is here as well, battling for a top 5 position late in this race. The 4 pokes that nose to the inside of the blue emu number 89 to try to pick up that position. Little bobble off of corner number 4. Not going to be able to make that move, and Landon Castle slams the door on Chase Cabry, throws it into 2 and almost gets it sideways.
He almost did, and you can see this ain't done yet. Now it is Majeski on the charge to the inside of Alfredo, and here is where that no tire decision is going to hurt him. Of course, the longer we go green, the more of these cars are going to be making moves on him. Inside of 10 laps to go from Richmond, Majeski's got 2nd, Castle now wanting 3rd.
And Alfredo definitely is showing the effects of the older tires. We talked about this on Tuesday, Evan. If you stayed out on a 10-15 lap old set, you're likely going to fall back. And that time, Castle fed him the right rear.
Yeah, that was a big, big push from the 33 car as Castle squeezed him up and into the wall, and that just about to put the nail in the coffin for Anthony Alfredo's hopes of trying to squeak a top 5 out of this one. Now in front, it is Gibbs on the inside of Castle. Cabry got ahead of both of them. The fight is going to be for 4th on back. Let's see if these drivers can keep it clean. Josh Berry sure hopes so. He's checked down up front as Gibbs has 4th.
How about the late race run for Ty Gibbs? He's now moved around Landon Castle for position number 4 and is looking for a podium run late in this race. He's got Chase Cabry right in front of him, 2 lengths in between the 4 and the 18. You ride on board with Ty Gibbs. What a run he's made this evening, and only 7 laps away from maybe what could be a podium finish if he can get up on the wheel late here.
He's trying, and he has had really an up and down night, not just in the standings, but has been involved in a few incidents, being able to fight back. These drivers, of course, working with just 1 fast repair, I'm sure was a factor. As we see now, it is Will Rogers in 7th, trying to get 1 more spot from Anthony Alfredo. This time by, will take 5 laps to go. Of course, as Green-white checkers looming large over Josh Berry up front. This race needs to get to the white flag for it to be official, and Rogers leaning on Anthony Alfredo.
And these drivers are really pushing up the corners at this point, even though they have the fresher tires. It's like they're expecting a bit more give from Alfredo. The thing is, you've got to remember, Alfredo, if he just backs off, everybody's just going to dive to the bottom, and all of a sudden you're outside the top 10. Trouble towards the back, though. Cindric got turned as the rest of the drivers continue to stay green.
We'll see if we stay green. He's just on his own. Race control telling him to get moving, and it should stay green. And look at the contact now as the 19 Kara Kraus pushed up, pinballed a few times. He's the big loser in all of this. Now he'll block Bailey Curry, who gives him the shunt in turn 3, and Derek Kraus got used up now with 3 laps to go.
But they stay green, and the battle continues on for position number 3. It's Gibbs all over the back bumper of the 4 of Cabry within a car length, within striking distance. If he has to use the chrome horn, maybe you take that car and you maybe put it in a couple length or 2 deeper into the corner. Maybe use up the 4 if you have to. This is short track racing. There's your leader. He's all by himself right now. Josh Berry trying to bring it home in the All Things Automotive number 88.
And even tonight, when drivers were able to get that track position on him by strategy, and Josh Berry would get stuck in traffic, it really felt like it was never in doubt as he gets the white flag. It is the last lap to go, presented by iRacing. A clean track out in front and no challenge from behind as Josh Berry put it to him in this 125-lap feature. And for the final time at turn 4, Josh Berry wins Saturday Night Thunder from Richmond.
What a dominating performance. As soon as Berry got towards the front, took advantage of the clean air all night, Evan. Just showed again the strength he has on the iRacing service. A dominating victory tonight.
And this 88 machine, Tim, we talked off at the top about how many of these drivers, their real-life experiences across a whole host of series and cars and tracks. And at the end of the day, Josh Berry, he's a short tracker, and he showed that here tonight with an incredibly impressive performance.
In a car that almost looks like his late model stock car that he races on the Cars Solid Rock Carriers Tour. He lights it up here on the front straightaway. A winner at Richmond. And now we'll see what goes on with him for the rest of this sim racing endeavor. A former eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver. Big win here tonight, though, celebrating on the front straightaway as the winner of the second Saturday Night Thunder show.
And it is all him as he heads to virtual victory lane. Let's take a look at your iRacing full race results tonight for the virtual Richmond Raceway. It is Berry leading 106 laps on route to victory lane. Atop Ty Majeski, who comes home in second, and Chase Cabry backs up a good run at Bristol with a P3 here tonight as well. No surprise in that one. Ty Gibbs, though, a late charge. He'll jump up to 4th ahead of Landon Castle, who finishes in 5th position with Will Rogers, Anthony Alfredo, Kaz Gralla, Logan Seavey, and Bailey Curry just in the top 10.
Landon Huffman came home in 11th after being up in the top 5 at one point. Derek Krause in 12th, Blake Cook in 13th, Ruben Garcia in 14th. Joshua Boyke comes home in 15th with Stenzel in 16th. Burden comes home in 17th, Jeff Burden specifically, with Cole Custer in 18th. Michael McDowell 19th. Austin Cindric rounds out the top 20 in the drivers in the lead lap, Tim.
And these are the drivers that fell off the lead lap at the end of this one. You got Chase Briscoe, Matt Mills, Alex LeBay. What might have been for that number 90 car. Justin Allgaier, Ryan Truex, and of course Brendan Poole there in 21st place. Exciting race, Evan, but at the end of the day, it belongs to Josh Berry.
And we are on the radio now with the driver of that virtual number 88 Chevy. Josh, congratulations on the win. Getting the job done in Saturday Night Thunder is going to be a pretty cool deal.
Good race. I felt like I was pretty good, man. Me and Ty were really close. I just kind of felt like it would come down to whoever lost track position, and on that one restart where couple guys took 2. Ty was in the wrong lane and lost a bunch of track position, and that was probably the difference for me to kind of get away.
We certainly knew that 88 machine had speed as we take a second look and a slow-mo look at that final pass for the race win, getting around that 33 of Alfredo up front. But, it was never, fastest on those short runs and the hot laps, by a couple of tenths of a second, like a lot of drivers kind of try to go out there and flex their muscles. You really put your money where your mouth was when it came to the race. Of course, qualifying it through the heat races and getting yourself into a position with a heat race 3 win where you would start up front in this one. And that honestly, when you got up front, not really looking back, even when you got in traffic, you seemed to be pretty calm, cool, and collected. And I feel like that helped a lot.
Yeah, definitely. I did like a little bit of short run speed compared to Ty, I thought, at least in qualifying. But, I was able to get out front and kind of run my own line. I think me and him were really, we were really close, but ran different lines there. And it just, mine seemed to work out front, and I was able to keep the right rear on it. Richmond's always been a really good track for me. And, whenever that's really why I wanted to be a part of this tonight. So it was definitely a lot of fun.
We did this last time out when we did this Saturday Night Thunder deal at Bristol. And of course, there's so many drivers in this series from various different series. And of course, we mentioned with a lot of TV time with that 88 up front, what you're up to. But for those who are tuning in and may not have heard the name Josh Berry before, where can they find you and keep up with you?
Basically a short track racer. Definitely, I've made some starts in the Xfinity and trucks, ARCA. Hope to working on some more stuff in there, but mainly a short track racer in the Carolinas, and drive for Dale at Junior Motorsports. We run the Cars Tour and also all the NASCAR Wheel on All American Series events. It's had a lot of fun over the years. We're coming off a big win at their big race at Martinsville last year, so just fun. And iRacing's always been a good hobby of mine, and really enjoyed it. And tonight it was fun to be a part of it.
I think it helps as well when you're pretty good at it. Josh, congratulations on the race win here tonight from Richmond. We appreciate you giving us the time to chat post-race, and maybe we'll see you next weekend as well. So that is your top finisher here from Richmond. We'll continue things on down the line. Tim Terry, let's see if you can dial up the drive of the 45 car. It's Ty Majeski in second.
And Ty Majeski finishes in position number 2. And I think Josh mentioned it in his interview. How frustrating was it to be on the outside a couple of times on this run, trying to find your way to the inside? How frustrating was that on a couple of these restarts?
Yeah, it was certainly frustrating. But overall, I felt like we finished where we deserved tonight. Josh was just a little bit better. We could trade off lap times, but he was much more consistent, and that was the difference throughout some of those long runs. He was just a tad better than me all night, and overall, I'm just thankful we were able to we deserved there. Got shuffled on that restart, was in the wrong lane there, and dropped back, I think, as far as 7th or 8th, and had to make our way up through. And we were in the right line on a couple of those late race restarts, and was able to get back up to second. But overall, congrats to Josh. He was absolutely flawless tonight.
Second Saturday Night Thunder race, but first one with this Xfinity-style race car. How fun was this race car to drive here tonight, maybe compared to that ARCA Menard Series car that we had a couple of weeks ago?
It was certainly a challenge. This setup definitely requires a lot of discipline and requires you to be smooth for sure. And that kind of showed. Some of the guys that were up front at Bristol weren't up front tonight. So it was definitely a challenge. A lot of fun for us drivers to slip and slide out there. And it was put on a great race. Overall, it was a really good race all throughout the field. Had a lot of green flag runs. And thank you to all my partners, CMR Roofing and Construction, Epic Media, Loco Toco Designs, everyone that's a part of this. Hopefully we can get back to the real racetrack soon. Hopefully everyone's staying safe.
You've run up front in these things. What's it going to take to win one of these Saturday Night Thunder shows?
Man, honestly, I thought this was my chance. Obviously, my background, specifically on iRacing, is short tracks. And I thought I had a good shot tonight. But old Josh, he's obviously has a lot of experience on here and in these big cars on here. And he was just better than us tonight. So hopefully we can get some luck on our side and continue to get better at these cars and make some speed. And hopefully one will go our way.
That's Ty Majeski finishing position number 2. JP, I think you've caught up with Chase Cabry.
Yes, indeed, Chase. You had to claw and fight your way to this top 3 tonight. First of all, how would you describe the fight to be able to get yourself into a podium position tonight?
Yeah, I kind of paced around the sixth place spot, fifth and sixth the whole night. I'd say I was probably a sixth place race car in speed. Well, sixth place driver. We all had the same race car, and those guys were just a lot better than I was. The top five was, and just got a couple lucky breaks. And sometimes I'd rather be lucky than good. And it was fortunate enough to work in my favor, to where I was able to sneak up into a third place run. Was definitely a lot quieter than how we were last week or 2 weeks ago, where we led a bunch of laps. But to be able to sneak away third is pretty good nonetheless.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's talk about with some of the fights as well, and that how was it trying to pace yourself to be able to make the right moves while making sure that if you made a move, you did it cleanly and conservative and successfully, rather.
Yeah, this setup was definitely easy to overdrive getting down in the corner. I think you saw a lot of people do that. You just had to really pick your cues and when you were going to go and when you were going to make that move, and just be kind of mathematical about when you were going to do it. And overall, it took some time to make some runs past people and be able to close the holes when someone got closed on the outside. But like I said, nonetheless, come home third. Rather be lucky than good.
Absolutely. Now, next things next. Where can we see you race next in the near future?
Oh, I don't know how long this is gonna keep us out of real race cars, but I'll be definitely back in the Saturday Night Thunder next week. We got the Monday Night Pro Series with the World of Outlaws on Monday, but can't wait to get back to the real track in the near future.
We'll see how you do as well on Monday. Good. Congratulations again on the top three. Evan, back over to your direction.
Yeah, we'll continue on down through the finishing order and chat with the driver of the number 18 Toyota tonight from Richmond. Ty Gibbs gets a fourth place finish. And Ty, you didn't make this one easy on you. I'll tell you what, you started P12, and I know you weren't sure if you were going to make the main show, but once you did, I mean, the car was fast. It just seemed like staying out of trouble was kind of what slowed you down at times.
Yeah, it was a super fun time tonight. I'm just glad I got made it in the show and I got invited to this deal. I had a blast watching these last couple of weeks. They're so entertaining, and finally get to drive it. It was a fun time. It was a difficult race. I got wrecked a couple of times and I wrecked a couple of people, but it happens. And we're on this game is so much fun. It's so realistic to what real life is with the pit strategy and everything. And I'm drinking my good old Monster Energy right now too, but I can't thank Boris from Jokers Racing to get me in this deal, and pretty much everybody else that's helped me. It's been a fun time, and it's finally good to talk to you, Evan.
Well, it's funny because 2 weeks ago when we did this, we had the Arkham Menard series styled cars, and that's something that you would be more familiar with. So
Mhm.
getting thrown into this one for the first week in these bigger Xfinity series cars, what was that learning process like, kind of figuring things out? And obviously you figured something out because that 18 machine, when you were out in clean air, was one of the best cars.
Yeah, the thing I would say is staying out of trouble, but I was in half the trouble, so I don't, I just I just kind of picked my way through it. I kind of saved all my stuff to where I could really get after it when I had to, and I kind of just watch everything happen. You got to keep your eyes up for wrecks and stuff. But it was super fun. This game is so realistic to where you got a tire model and everything. But it was just a blast. NASCAR and iRacing put on a great show, and iRacing and Steve Myers, they do a really good job building this game. It's just a blast, and it's a great learning tool. So.
Well, we certainly hope that you had some fun coming out and racing with us, Ty. By the time we do get real cars, though, back on the racetrack, it will give you an opportunity to kind of plug yourself. Where can people find you and keep up with all things in that 18?
Yeah, everybody can follow me on Instagram at @tygibbs_. That's pretty much all of my stuff, and hopefully we'll be at the back at the track soon. I miss the track, but I'm playing a lot of iRacing, trying to get good at this game. Not as good as Josh and Ty. Those guys are really good, and they've played for a really long time. And it's really cool to watch those guys race and learn what they do to go fast. I wasn't even close to being in the top 5, but somehow I finished there. So I just can't thank everybody enough, and thank you guys for putting on a good deal.
Happy to have you with us, and certainly when you compare the experience levels up to those guys, a good result. Ty, thanks for chatting again. Congratulations on the good finish.
Thank you. Have a good night, guys.
We'll continue things on down through the running order with Landon Castle, I believe, a P5 in this one. Tim, back to you.
Yeah, Landon Castle finishes in position number 5. And Landon, you had a little bit of pit strategy late in the race and was still able to hold the top 5 run. Let's talk about a night at Richmond. Are you happy with the top 5? Could you get a little bit more? What's your take on it?
Well, a couple sides of it because if you would have told me this morning that I would qualify on the pole and start on the pole and finish 5th, I would probably be somewhat happy with that. And then I realized, as the race went on and as the whole race event went on, that I was better than I thought I was. So I was pretty proud of that. And quick time start on the pole was great. We were just a solid 3rd place car. It was really hard to touch Josh and Ty. Those guys are definitely pros. They're really good at this, and then there's a lot of other drivers that are very well that do a great job that deserve to be in the biggest races on this platform. So I'm happy with the top 5. We tried for some strategy. I thought 2 tires would work. I think that if the race would have gone green, we probably would have finished 2nd. So we would have been happy with that. I just didn't want to restart on the outside, and I was afraid if I took 4 tires, I would restart on the outside. So that just kind of put us in that position.
You've been doing a lot of racing on iRacing here since we've had some time off with this blue Emu car. Where do we see you racing next here on iRacing? Where can the fans check you out? I know you do some Twitch streaming. Give us a little bit of plug there.
Yeah, I'm Twitch streaming right now, and again, I appreciate your guys' coverage and everything you guys do. I appreciate everything iRacing's been doing. It's done wonders for the industry during this time. So Blue Emu's behind me 100%. We've been Twitch streaming several hours a day. Tomorrow morning, I'll be in the Pro Invitational qualifying race where I'll have to finish top 2 to get into the Pro Invitational race at Richmond. So I plan on doing that. I also got invited to run some World of Outlaws races. So I accepted that invite. I have no idea. I haven't looked at the schedule yet, but I think they race on Tuesday nights maybe. And then I like to do a lot of fun stuff too. So I've done the Thursday night blunder with the Continental Tire guys. And I've hosted races. I hosted Monza Madness, and I plan on hosting many more races. And who knows, maybe we'll see the Landon Castle qualifying challenge come back.
That would be a neat event to see. That would be a blast in the past. There's Landon Castle finishing in position number 5. And Justin, I'm going to have to check out the World of Outlaws now if Landon's in the field.
Yeah, absolutely. Going to be interesting to see how he does on the dirt, but I'm standing by without Anthony Alfredo, who tried that different strategy gamble for tonight's action. Anthony, first things first, it was a gamble, staying out on old tires. What came down to that decision for you and your team?
That's a great question. It was a bold move for sure, but I had Richmond Raceway Esports driver Zach Novak and Jimmy Mullis, who not only drive for the racetrack itself, but are very skilled at this track and know how to get around it. Jimmy had the pole for the Coca-Cola iRacing Series race on last Tuesday night, and Zach and him also finished 2nd and 3rd in the E-Trucks Rumble the other night as well. So they know how to get around here, and they helped me out a lot. So I trusted their decision to stay out on old tires there. We unfortunately got to a wreck a little bit before that, which forced us to use our faster pair, and we didn't want to get stuck in the middle of the field. We knew we were fast enough to run up front, so we figured our best shot was just to stay out and do all we could. So that's exactly what we did. The last restart, Josh Berry had a fantastic start beside me, and I just couldn't get far enough away as I'd liked. So he got inside of me going down the back straightaway, and it's just he was going too much faster for me to block it. Number 1, he's on new tires. Number 2, if I did block it, he probably would have moved me, and I would have lost a whole lot more spots. So we had a lot of fun battling up there with those guys. I think if we were on new tires as well, we could have been racing for the win, or if not, Ty and Josh were both very, very fast. So I think, top 3 at the very least. But we did all we could on old tires. We rolled the top pretty well too, and managed to bring our Dude Wipes Chevrolet Camaro home with a P7. So I'm pretty happy with that. I just want to thank Dude Wipes for coming on board. I'm rocking all their gear here in my live stream on Twitch. My Twitch channel is fast_pasta. Everybody's been pumped in the chat, and driving this Dude Wipes car has been a true pleasure. So I appreciate their support, and look forward to doing more.
Absolutely looking forward to seeing you in more action. Speaking of which, where can we see you in the near future, Anthony?
Well, hopefully we get back to the real-life racetrack soon, but at the very least, if we don't, I'll be on iRacing every day like I have been. I've been streaming upwards of 5 hours or more a day, sometimes 10, 11 hours I've actually hit in one day streaming iRacing and Call of Duty, played in the FaZe Clan Fight to Fun tournaments, and had a lot of fun collaborating with them as well. So I'm on iRacing running regularly and hope to compete in more of these Pro Invitational Series and Saturday Night Thunder events. They've been a blast. I think Ty Majeski and I are the only 2 qualified for every single event, including the first 2, Homestead in Texas. So that's pretty cool. Try to keep that stat rolling throughout the next couple weeks, and I'm looking forward to it. I just want to thank iRacing for this incredible platform all of us racers have to not only have fun, but actually train and take advantage of this time we're not at the racetrack, and NASCAR for capitalizing all the sponsors to make this happen, including my own, like Dude Wipes today.
Absolutely. Congratulations on the good run today, Anthony. Anthony, very hyped up at the very least, we can tell. Evan, back over to you.
Yeah, a big thanks as well to all the drivers who gave us a bit of time here post-race to chat with us. And, of course, a big thanks extended as well to all of the drivers for participating in this one. They're all racers, and when we asked them all, what are you up to? Where could we find you? They pretty much all said, listen, we want to get back into a real race car, but we're having a ton of fun with this for the moment. So we appreciate them being a part of this event. And of course, all of you back home for tuning in and enjoying the action with us tonight, Justin, as the second iteration of Saturday Night Thunder has come and gone. It has been a lot of fun on these Saturday evenings. It sounds like this will be something that will continue alongside the Pro Invitational Series. So hopefully we have more of this action in the coming weeks. But what are your final thoughts on tonight's 125 lap race?
I think my thoughts are it was a really strong race. Some good battling, some rough and tough from short track racing as to be expected. But as well, I think tonight showed a lot of the improvements some of the drivers had, even when you compare it to Bristol for Saturday Night Thunder. A lot of them put in tons of work over the past couple weeks. What an exciting race overall tonight.
It really was a clean race, Tim. We talked about the struggles of racing at Richmond. It's just one of the most difficult tracks on the sim, but as well, changing cars. You're talking about drivers who drive some real-world cars that have not driven an Xfinity Series machine. They had to do a lot of adapting these last 2 weeks to get ready for this, and they did great.
Absolutely, they did. There was a lot of give at the start. There was a little more take at the end, but hey, you expected it. Short track racing, but Josh Berry had everybody's number tonight, and he walked away from the field. Congratulations to the 88 JRM team, and we'll see what he can do the next time we have a Saturday Night Thunder race, because he seemed jacked up to do it all over again.
And we look forward to that next time out. But until then, that's it for us here tonight from Richmond. For our entire team at iRacing, the folks at NASCAR, the drivers as well, for making this possible, and for your broadcast team tonight. For Justin Prince, Tim Terry, and myself, Evan Pasoko, want to thank you for tuning in and congratulate Josh Berry as the race winner tonight from Richmond. Make sure to tune in tomorrow afternoon at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for Round 4, the eNASCAR Pro Invitational iRacing Series here from Richmond, with coverage on Fox FS1 and the Fox Sports app. Enjoy the race tomorrow, and we'll catch you next time on Saturday Night Thunder.